Everybody loved him. Hundreds of people would be by the courthouse, and he, put up his finger to the government, and that's it. This man is dying, and you still have him in solitary confinement. He was tied, his feet to the bed, and his hands were tied to the bed. People want to question if my father was weak or tough. He had a severe kidney infection. He was sick. He didn't get to see a doctor. By the time he got off the bus, he was covered in blood. If there was ever a time to become a rat or something, it would have been then. No, instead he fought 5 trials. Eli has never had any conversation with my father. He lied about my son. Like, this is how sick they are. I defend my family. I think I do a pretty good job of defending my family. But other people defend my family also. I don't ask them to do it, but they do. Hi, everybody. I'm sorry I'm late. I was talking to someone and I totally didn't even realize what time it was. I'm so sorry. Let me say hi to everybody. I saw a comment before. Hi, Big Bones. Just started reading Dean's book today. Very well written and 100 pages in. Very good read. Yes, I'm excited. Dean is going to come on. Tina Orlando, how are you? Maureen, happy Labor Day. Happy Labor Day to everyone. Hello, Ange. How are you? Looking forward to this. I received my book yesterday, shouted Dean out on my channel and shared on Twitter. Thank you, Ange. Hello, Mike Slick. Looking forward to the show. Oh, you did too? I bought Dean's book. Can't wait to read it. Very nice. Hi, Chicago Muscle. Hi, Gianni. Hello, Edward. Krumel, how are you? Yes. Please give Dean a sub, please. Krumel shared his channel. Please give him a sub. We got to get him to at least 500 now, so he'll have a community page, and then we'll get him to 1,000. Hi, Carol. Hi, Joe. Hi, Jean. Oh, Dean, you're here. Okay. Let me drop the link for you, Dean. Okay. Okay, let me take this off the screen. Okay. I hope you remember how to come on, Dean. Hello, my brats, too. Hi, Jane Perry. Hi, Mary. How are you, Mary? And hi, Gerard. Fly me to the moon, Gerard. Hi, Dan Perry. Let me see. Hi, JT. How are you, JT? Hello, Leo. How are you? Let me see, Leo. Okay. Hello, OG Green Machine. How are you? Hello, Mike Wall. Hi, NB. How are you, NB? Hello, Moses Heap. Please hit the like button. Thank you, Moses Heaps. Let me see. Hello, Richie. How are you doing, Richie? Hello, Montauk. Hello, John. How are you? John from Astoria, Queens. How are you? Hello, David James. And thank you for being here. Oh, my glasses are... Hi, Joey D. How are you? Hello, Aegon Targaryen. Hi, Lori Love. Hi, Angel. How are you? My copy of Dark Impressions will be here Tuesday. Very nice. I'm sure Dean appreciates that. Hello, Mike Slick. Hello, Kevin. How are you, Kevin? And B, I'm listening while getting kid ready for early bedtime. But hello, everyone. I will hit thumbs up. Thank you. Oh, that's right. The kids go back to school tomorrow, right? I'm going to call my grandson in the morning. Okay. Hi, Claudio Perry. How are you, Claudio? Hello, Vito. Excuse me. Always when I get on here. Okay. Let me see. See, there's always got to be one moron in here. Okay. Hi, Del Strain. How are you, Del Strain? And Anne shared Dean's channel. Thank you. Okay. Hi, David. Okay. Okay. So I'm all caught up. We're just waiting for Dean to come on. Let me share the link again. And Kevin says, please press the like button. So I got Dean's book too, but I got it yesterday, but not yesterday, Saturday, but I was out all day and night last night. And today I was running around doing everything that I had to do today. So I didn't get to read it yet. Leo, that guy in the community tab is a punk? What guy in the community tab? Well, you're talking. Well, I don't know if he's a punk. I don't know what. He raves about someone else. So I guess he doesn't comprehend some things. Well, the way that we all started out here with one or two or 20 subscribers, that's how it is with Dean. He's starting out, he's coming out on here. And what's the difference if we help him the way we all helped each other? We can help Dean as well. Hi, Paul Clinton. That's okay. We didn't start anything. We're waiting for Dean to come on. Okay, let me just see something. Okay, let me just say. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me see. I'm sorry, everybody. Hi, Maddie. How are you, Maddie? Who's the punk in the community tab? I can't see community. No, it's all right. It's not a big deal. Yes, you agree. Exactly. We should all help each other. He just wanted to know, why am I not interviewing Convict Inc? Well, Convict Inc has he said that he wanted to come on, and I said I would have him on, but Convict Inc is very busy. And I haven't, kept up with that either. So, you know, whatever. Dean is a stand-up guy, deserves to be shouted out. Exactly, Angela. So I don't understand like the problem with 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 somebody understanding that. Okay. Uh, Something's wrong with this chat. It keeps jumping. So I'm sorry. I'm trying to read them all. That's the name. Yeah. Okay. Please hit the like button. Hi, Tommy Stiggs. How are you, Tommy? Okay. Lori Love Carmel, I thought somebody said you had one. My bad. Oh, I don't know. Okay. Mobrat's 2. Dean did 36 years in prison. He deserves all the help. Yes. Yes, he does. I mean, you know how hard that must be? Think about it. How hard is it after 36 years in prison? Oh, I wish Dean well. Give him the strength and ability to stay on the positive path. Exactly. And he has a really good channel. I like his channel a lot. Dean should go on Convict Ink, Blood on the Razor, Wire, and as much as it pains me to say, Lockdown 23 and 1. What is Lockdown 23 and 1? I have no idea what that is, Lockdown 23 and 1. Convict Ink. I know Convict Ink. I only saw Blood on the Razor once. I didn't see that. I haven't watched anything on that since. And I don't mean that in a bad way either. I mean, I just don't get I'm not into all of that. Hi, Sandy. How are you, Sandy? Hi, Karen S. Angela says, very hard. He needs positive vibes and positive friends. Exactly. Plus, you're here. Hey, I am on. Where are you? I don't see you. You're not in the back. I'm going to drop the link again. I'm waiting for you. Let's see. I'm dropping the link for you, Dean. Oh, it is? It's the biggest prison interview channel. Oh, okay. So we'll tell him. Okay. It's a prison channel. Oh, okay. It's a channel with 1 million plus subs. Okay, we have to tell Dean about it. Here's Dean now.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Ling. Hello there, Dean.
What's going on?
How are you?
As usual, a little complication. We figured it out. Carol had to figure it out. I was fumbling all over the place.
That's okay. Not a big deal. How is the baby and how is Carol?
Both are well. The baby is sleeping right now. No, you can see me pretty good, right? Angel?
I could see you.
All right. So, yeah.
Oh, that's better, Dean.
Much better.
Yeah.
I'm looking at all the comments. I tell you, it feels good to know that some people feel they're gaining something inspirational from things I've been saying, and that feels good. You know, I've been a taker my whole life, so to give back is a good feeling. You know.
See, I like that, Dean. That's why I like you so much, because you're very humble.
Well, that's the only approach I know. You know, we've all met guys that aren't very humble. Usually they're not a whole lot to them at their core when they're like that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess we're going to engage in a discussion on my adjustment, something along those lines.
Yeah, whatever you want, Dean. Because I the last time I felt like, like there was 4 of us here and you didn't get, to talk that much. So I figured, you start where you want to start. But I do, I I'm very curious about when you were 16 and you had no direction. Because the same thing was with my father. You know, like they were out on the street at 14, 15, 16 years old.
I actually go back a little younger than that because, see, in a nutshell, my foster grandmother and grandfather pretty much raised my siblings and I to some extent. And my grandmother passed away when I was 10. She was the one more actively involved in raising me. So when she passed away, my grandfather was a little too old. He couldn't keep up with me, right? So I pretty much started in the streets at around 10, petty hustling, selling nickel bags of weed and all that typical inner city stuff you hear about. And, the state would keep grabbing me and removing me from the household. And ultimately, I ended up in the training school. And like I told you in the last video, I just I couldn't take being locked down. So I would always escape from anywhere I could go, anywhere they put me. And all I ever did was compound my problems by doing that. And every time I got arrested, I'd go, I'd accumulate more charges. And by the time I was 16, they got fed up with my shit, and they what they call wave you out or bound you over, and they sent me to the state pen, as you know, at 16. Now, the problem with a guy like in my situation going to prison that young, when you do finally come to your senses and you want to change, it's that much more difficult because when I went to prison, I didn't have a whole lot of life experience to work off. And in that environment, when you're in prison, all you really have, there was no programs available in those days. Not to say that I was even ready. Even if I could have changed, I probably wouldn't have at that time because being a criminal was much more appealing to me. I think I felt like you felt like you could be a somebody in that world. All the false pride, all the nonsense that comes with that world. I could excel at being a bad guy, but I was uncomfortable in the classroom in junior high, put it that way. I never even made it to high school on the street. There's older criminals in the prison system that they love kids coming in there who never had a father, and you can kind of shape this kid into a good soldier. You follow me?
Yeah.
And, I kind of allowed that to an extent. I just gravitated towards the best criminals that the prison had to offer, as a matter of fact. I don't know. It just seemed like I felt like I could be as somebody in that world. That's the disillusionment you get in that world. It took me years before I became disillusioned with that. But in the meantime, what I was trying to say is going in at that age and not having any real life experience. When I finally did decide I want to try to make a change, I was in my 50s, late 40s. There's not a lot to work off of. Like, let's say you went to prison at 25. At least you lived a life to some extent. You have material to work with mentally. In prison, there's no emotional growth, for one. So even the relationship I got in, the woman I married, I was even terrible in relationships because all of mine were generic the brief times I was out. So, I was talking about starting from the beginning. Damn. I had no life experience at all. And like I think I may have told you or I've said in the other videos, a lot of things about life in general I would gain from just everyday common stuff that people take for granted. Just getting used to paying bills and having a credit card and all that. I had to learn that from teachers and professors, anyone I can communicate with while I was up there. And that's basically how I started learning about everyday common problems. Because the average hardened criminal doesn't deal with common problems. You just throw cash at the problem. That's not dealing with a problem. If you can pay your way out of stuff all the time, or if you get a parking ticket, you don't really care because the money's stolen, for instance. But when you work hard for your money, you'll work harder at not getting the ticket because who wants to pay that ticket, right? So it's simplistic stuff like that upon my release, all of a sudden, these things didn't seem so simple anymore. Even going grocery shopping and things like that, that's something I had to adjust to. So I think going in so young, and I was, by the time I tried to make a change in my 40s, and by the time I was released in my 50s, I had a lot on my plate. It was that much more difficult. But at the same time, I have a few good people in my corner, and I met a good woman. And boy, I tell you, if it wasn't for my wife's patience and a couple of family members, they tolerant of the I don't want to say errors I make, but tolerant of my ignorance of things, because that's frustrating when you got someone. And the thing is, the funny thing is, I have an education. I do have somewhat of an education, but that doesn't do you any good. Schoolwork don't do you any good when you're dealing with a lot of common sense stuff. So there's a lot of things in that arena with common sense that I just wasn't aware of. Even using my iPhone 12. Geez, you might as well have sent me to NASA learning that. I was very patient. It's very frustrating just how to even send a text, for that matter. So it does kind of take a village to help a guy get his footing out here. And so it's been quite the journey, and I'm still going through it just a little bit. But one of the differences, I was prepared to deal with the frustration. I knew what I'd be up against. I had the wherewithal to at least have an understanding. A lot of guys that don't want to do their homework while they're serving time, if they play cards and only play sports and don't engage in educational stuff, and when you get out, it's like getting hit over the head with a fucking hammer. It's really something. But I was prepared to deal with the I might get a look from let's say the kid working the register at a supermarket, because I'm fumbling around trying to work my debit card, let's say. In prison, somebody gives me that look once about a time, I would respond in a certain way because everyone's looking. You got to respond a certain way. You have to differentiate between where you are, prison, and now you're in society. You don't give the guy, I let shit like that, I can let it roll off my chest, which is what I'm supposed to do. But I don't want kudos for that, what I'm supposed to do. But at the same time, I had to learn to do that. So everyday simple stuff was a challenge for a while, but I'm getting there, Angel. I'm getting there.
Let me ask you this. So did you do 36 years straight, or did you get out, get back in?
I caught 10 years to serve when I was 16. I served 5 years, just to give it to you right down the
right.
I was released on parole. I was charged with shooting a guy back in the 80s. I went back. I beat the shooting, but they made me finish up the 10-year sentence, which was actually 7.5, because this state, you earn good time. I was released. I was out only a month, and I was charged. By this time, I graduated in crime. I was arrested a month later for an armed bank robbery. I served a decade straight on that. And then within that whole decade, I got in more trouble in prison. I was picking up crimes in prison, assault. They almost charged me with drug trafficking. I continued. Prison made me didn't make me. In prison, I went from bad to worse. And so after serving that 10 years, I didn't do a goddamn thing to improve myself. And I got released. And within 9 months, I was back for 2 armed bank robberies, arson, burglary, firearms charges. And it took all of that for me to finally start. And even when I got back to prison, I did. I served 18 years just recently. I was just released after serving 18 years on a 30-year sentence. So that therein is where you get the 36 years, maybe a little more, give or take some months. But it was only until I was like, I was in high security, which is a supermax. And I was back and forth in and out of there. For those that ain't familiar with it, it's 23-hour-a-day lockdown. You'll go there as a punishment for any trouble you get into while in a maximum security. And, I was in my 40s when I went over there this last time, and I wasn't a kid anymore. I could feel myself. I was feeling a certain illness. I don't know how to explain it, but I read. I used to read dabble in a little bit of psychology. I started trying to learn about myself, who I am, and as you get an education, you start to learn, obviously. So I get the materials. I started reading certain materials, and then one day I came across how if you carry a lot of anger and a lot of rage, you can make you feel ill. I realized that's what was happening to me. Meanwhile, I'm watching guys around me deteriorate psychologically. It's a very scary thing to know a man and over a period of months or a few years, you could be in a cell next to this guy, and he's starting to do his behavior's becoming odd. Then you start to question your own sanity, which you better do, because if you don't question your own sanity, you might be deteriorating, and you don't even know it until someone that knows you tells you. So I was always, I'm very analytical, which is probably was a good trait of mine, because I started analyzing myself. I'm looking at other people's behaviors. Then I started getting worried. I came across the words criminal sociopath. I read stuff on that, material on that. I realized, hey, wait a minute, this shit applies to you. And I always hated the word institutionalized and sociopath, because a lot of the staff in there, you know that's how they view you. That's how they view all the guys that are career criminals. I'm considered a career offender for obvious reasons. And against all odds, I always like a challenge. I seen it as a challenge to overcome all that against all odds, because even now people probably are still awaiting my arrival back in prison. Well, they'll be waiting a long fucking time. It ain't gonna happen. But it's just I decided I needed to make a change, and it ain't like I had a big epiphany. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to die in prison. I told you, I think in the last video, I seen a guy's obituary. He served time. He got out and passed away. All his obituary said he lived in Cranston and he died. It was just so blank. Among other ones, I've seen other obituaries where family members criticized their own family, as a no good, rotten bastard, and he deserved to die. And it's just little things that I started picking up along the way that made me want to make a change, and it was a gradual change. Even as I was doing positive things in prison, I was still engaged in a lot of other negative activity. It took a long time before I could, and the prison had changed so much, such a dramatic change, like we spoke about the last time. It allowed for me, it made it a little easier for me to change. If it was still the violent beast it once was, maybe it would have been more difficult because you're involved in a lot of stuff. But long story short, we used to run with crews, and you always had your friends back. I learned to stop with that type of behavior. I kind of became more of a loner, so now I wasn't obligated to anybody. It's like you have to really, it's like precision cutting. You have to make precision moves. And even when I was walking through the prison yard with my books, you probably get guys behind your back smirking and shit. You got to deal with shit like that. A couple of times I had to come outside and tap into my old self and let a guy know, listen, don't let this book fool you. To myself, I'm thinking, I hope this guy doesn't call my bluff, because I'm going to have to do something. I didn't want to. But prison, it's real difficult in prison if you had a reputation, because then it precedes you, and you got to live up to it. You have to leave all that shit behind. And I didn't feel a need to have to live up to it anymore. And there's a lot of little things involved with change just in prison, never mind once you get out. And little by little, I just tackled each thing. And I began taking programs. I ended up training dogs in there as well for handicapped people. They started a program. Like I told you, I spoke to high school kids, junior high kids, college kids, even about poor choices. And just at first, when I joined, say, that program, talking to kids, it's like a Scared Straight program. Well, initially, I kind of started taking that program for selfish reasons. I only started doing the program to impress the parole board and try to, against all odds, get parole once again. But in time, when you start to engage in these positive things, it started to wear on me. It started having a positive effect on me. And then I started my agenda in the program begin to change. I began to really wanting to help, because a couple of junior high school kids had written me a letter thanking me. I mean, how are you going to get a letter from a high school kid or a junior high kid thanking you and not feel something from that, right? So unless you're so far gone as a psychopath, maybe. But in fact, I can remember a couple of times feeling certain emotions towards things and feeling, wait a minute, that's weak. You can't feel like that. See, prison and being a criminal is an upside down world. Guys that consider themselves a hard criminal, or maybe they are, you're not supposed to feel. You're not supposed to think this way. That's weak. That's that prison bullshit mentality. I had to break free of all of that. And I was glad when I finally discovered I actually did feel things for people. If I see a mother on TV whose son was murdered, I would feel something for this woman. I mean, Jesus Christ, she lost this. You start to get a real you get empathy. I realized I had empathy. And instead of running from it, which I probably did when I was younger, I embraced it. And I started embracing all these positive things. So those are the little things a lot of guys probably haven't had a chance to explain to people what is involved in change. There's a lot of, you just have to, you break yourself down and you rebuild yourself. And there's a part of me that likes a lot of my characteristics. I didn't want to just do away to who I was completely. I mean, I do like myself, you know what I mean? So, I mean, a lot of things that I have to catch myself, like I cuss and swear a lot. Some people interpret that as there's no change. Listen to this guy. Well, that's something I have to work on still. It's like I like to think I took care of the most more significant things first, like well, a lot of the things I just explained to you, and sometimes when I try to explain this, it gets a little convoluted, it gets confusing. But in general, I'm sure your viewers are following what I'm saying. It's just I had to make some serious changes, and I discovered I actually have some good qualities. And when I started engaging with decent people. Even in prison, there's a lot of guys who are in there. Maybe they made a mistake, but you know they were a good person on the street. I began conversing with people like that, guys who raised their family, but they made a mistake later on in life, as opposed to years ago when all I hung out with was hardened criminals. I mean, what are you going to gain from these guys? They all got the same agenda, and it's all convoluted and twisted. And so there's a lot of elements to, and I am working on autobiography, and I try to break it down without boring the reader. I show you gradually how change came about. Like I said, it wasn't a big epiphany. It was just maybe a small epiphany on one thing I discovered about myself. That leads to another thing. And then going back to when I started this, I was in high security and I found out the anger was deteriorating me physically. And I started finding ways to keep the anger in check. First, I tried artwork. And that's when I started to write. When I began writing, I think potentially, even while writing, if you write a fictitious character, now you've got a fictitious victim, say the mother's son again. We'll use that scenario again where the mother's son is killed. So now I have to describe this mother as a victim whose son was murdered. So now I may have to research how this woman felt, and I'll talk to a woman over the phone whose mother was killed. I mean, I used to do a lot of research in my own twisted way to write a character. It might take me months to get down what I want to say about this character. But in doing so, it's like these characters almost become real, and you develop empathy through writing a fictitious story because really it's a real thing, but it's a fictitious story. Does that make sense, Angel?
Yes. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And therein lies the therapeutic value of writing. That's why they say writing is cathartic. It really is, because it took me down a path I never anticipated. And listen, through writing is what prompted me to continue on in my education, because I signed on for a couple of college courses just writing. But when I was always intimidated to go in a classroom. I didn't want to look like a dummy. And one of the things with hardened criminals, which I was at the time, it's hard for a guy who's in prison who has a reputation to step into a classroom, because the same guys he might have been extorting out in the yard, or the guys that fear him, when he goes into the classroom, those same guys now have the power, because a lot of them have an education, but they may be are a little bit weaker when it comes to defending himself. And so it's hard for a guy to go from being a guy who's looked at a certain way to the classroom. Now you're taking a back seat to these guys. I had to overcome that. In fact, I wrote a national essay in regards to that, where a lot of guys in that situation won't go into a classroom, but they probably would excel. They just need to overcome that. I said, if you have a virtual reality class first, for a guy like me, even though I did it, but a guy in my situation, if you give me a virtual reality class and I learn alone, I can learn some things, learn enough about what I want to pursue, then I'll have the confidence to go into a classroom with other guys. I submitted it. I didn't win that particular contest, but I thought it was a good idea, because I think if I would have probably went to school earlier if I had that. Basically, it comes down to false pride. The average guy, all he got in prison is his reputation. If he lives off that, off being this notorious, dangerous guy, some guys, they live off of that reputation. They don't want to give it up. You have to humble yourself, get rid of that, maybe take a little criticism along the way, but then you start to rebuild. You'll start to get traction. And that's one of many things. I don't want to ramble on, but I'm hoping I'm making sense to the viewer.
Yes, you are. But who was the judge? Who was the judge that decided? Like
What?
who's
In my
the
last
judge? Yeah, who's the judge that decided the essay contest?
Oh, well, I'm not sure. It was done through the prison system. It's I submitted it through the CCI one of the CCRI courses they teach up there, community college.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Sometimes you have a professor from the University of Rhode Island, sometimes a Brown University. I forget what they call them. They'll come up and teach a class, and you'll get the credits. And I forget what particular professor, brought that to the class. But I've entered a few of the writing contests. I won one time. I won a grant. It's a $500 grant to pay for some of my college courses.
That's really nice. Well, let me ask you this. How many years were you in before you started to do this?
Well, I would say about, I did 36 years. I would say about 26 years. It was within the last 10 years is where it begun. And mainly in the last 5 or 6 years is where I really stepped it up, because I was transferred to a lower facility, a medium security out of maximum security. And that building's like the flagship building of this prison system here. And that's where a lot more programs are afforded. We have a lot more things are available to you, like the dog training program, for instance. That I was in that for about a year, and maximum security has a lot less. And the mentality of the guys in the medium security, a lot of them are on their way out after serving a lot of time. So there's a lot less of a possibility of you engaging in a beef, because a lot of guys there are on a positive track. So, but if you're a guy that's a hardened guy, you don't want to go to that building because you consider it a soft place. You want to be in a place where there's more of a hardened convict. So it's like you have to give up who you are, your old self. And you have to. I had to actually endure a lot of bullshit to accomplish good things. It's the strangest thing. The more you want to accomplish in this prison system, the more bullshit you have to endure. But I guess that's a testament to how far you're willing to go. I mean, I don't want to say I went too far. I didn't, yeah, but you have to bite your tongue a lot. In my case, I had a reputation in the prison system that carried me along. It's the only time a bad rep can carry you a long way, because a lot of guys knew who I were, and they can tell other guys, because you got a lot of young punks in there. They don't know who I am. They only been in for 6 months. They think they're a tough guy. And those are the guys that scream the loudest when you go after them. That's the hilarious thing about that. But I had a lot of older guys knew me. They would talk to these different gangs and stuff. And so everyone kind of knew who I was. My nickname in there became OG. I guess that's a good, a term for an older guy who's put some work in.
Yeah. Let me ask you. Wait, I want to ask you this, because I am a crazy animal lover. So you would get to work with dogs every day?
Yeah, I was what you call a backup, but there is a lead guy. You actually take the dog in your cell overnight, and that dog's with you from the time they're a puppy till I forget what age. Some of them that don't make it, they just become I forget Carol, what's the dog when you just pet the dog? By the way, my wife Carol's here. Yeah, service dog.
Service dog.
Service dog is what is for in fact, one of the Boston bombing victims received one of our dogs. Veterans, anyone well, Carol wanted me to remind you why I was kicked out of the program. So
you got kicked out?
Yeah, and this goes back to your reputation preceding you. Even when I got to the facility, a lot of people didn't want me there. They thought I was the same old guy who's creating so much trouble in the past.
Right.
No one was willing to accept I made a change. So I was an easy target for any informant, as you know how they like to make up lies.
Yes.
And this one particular guy wasn't able to get into the dog program. He was a little pissed off that me and another guy who had a serious reputation was allowed in. But that's because an old timer higher up in administration wanted me to have a chance, and he put me in there. And long story short, the guy that didn't get in knew I was an easy target, and he made up a story of trafficking. Said I was trafficking drugs while in the dog program. They investigated it. I was cleared. But I was told, Dean, even though we know you didn't do it, the idea of this cloud that follows you around all the time it reflects poorly on the program. So you're not going to get booked, which means a discipline report. You're not in any trouble, but we can't have you in the program. And it's really that simple. I mean,
it's disgusting. Did the other guy get in?
No, I didn't even find out who that guy was until he was moved on out of the system. But that's because a couple of officers, I assaulted officers in the past and everything. So there was a couple there holding a grudge. I'm not going to sit here and blame it on everybody. It's really my reputation that caught up to me. And a lot of guys in there, they don't have to have evidence. They'll lock you up based on an informant telling them this is what he's doing.
Yeah.
They're doing it, so it's easy. It's easy for them to lock you up on an investigation. And really, they just said, and I ended up getting a job to prove that they know I didn't do anything wrong. They gave me another decent job within the prison, which I wouldn't have got if they thought I had my hands dirty. But they just didn't want me to program. Other guys said I intimidated them. Look, I'm a little guy. I don't intimidate. Maybe I'm a little boisterous. I'm a little, I talk like the guys I grew up around, and just even just the way you see the way men have changed out here in the world, it's the same thing in there. I like the very timid guys in there. And I had to live around guys convicted of rape and child molestation, not right next to them, but that's one of the things you endure when you go to a lower security like that. If you want to improve, you have to live around people like if they're not in protective custody, some of them slip into the system. You have to put on blinders and not see this. I just stayed to myself and decided that change was worth more than my pride getting in the way, or even at times my false pride. I had to make some serious changes. I'm kind of all over the place. I'm hoping I answered the dog. I train labs, by the way. Some of them we train for blind people. The ones I train were for disabled people. They can go to your, if you hold your chest, that means heart attack. They know to go push. You might have a buzzer in your house and your neighbor can hear it, things like that. That dog could go to the refrigerator and go get your medication and bring it to you.
Wow.
That was a good. The program is still up and running. In fact, I think they won an award over the best dogs we turned out around the country. All the dog programs in the prison systems around the country. That year, we turned out the best dogs. Not me personally, other guys. But listen, I think that was.
Did it bother you to see them go when it was time for them to go?
Oh yeah, you get really attached to the dog, without a doubt. The person receiving the dog, they'll come up, they'll have a ceremony, you get to meet the person. They were coming from as far away as California. Veterans of wars, I mean, you name it. The woman who lost her leg in the Boston bombing, or both legs, I met her. And it was very interesting. And it civilizes you. That's the type of stuff.
Yes.
Aging, and that's the type of stuff that civilizes you. So you imagine if you're only in a prison playing cards all the time, you don't get to engage in shit like that. I mean, I met U.S. senators and everything in my class and got to question them and not kiss his ass either. I got to question them on something that I didn't like, but I did it in a professional manner. And that's all civic-minded stuff you engage in. I just thought I made the best effort I could before I was released. So when I did finally get released, a lot of people are surprised by what I did know, how I conduct myself. And at the same time, they're surprised by the little things I was never able to go online, so I couldn't do anything to improve myself on learning about technology. But just a lot of other things, I was prepared. I wasn't, in fact, I was a little more nervous than I actually ended up being. I just thought it was going to be, I don't know what it was going to be like. I knew it would be a challenge, but the challenges are come from a different angle. I mean, my first day out, my sister threw like an event. I was around a house full of people. Not a problem. I wasn't nervous about it or anything. A lot of guys get nervous in a room full of people you haven't seen in years. It's nerve-wracking. And but to this day, as I speak to you, there's still things I learn as I go. But listen, it wasn't for my wife and her tolerance, because I frustrated the hell out of her. She teaches me a lot of stuff. Carol, why don't you come over here and say hello real quick while we're on? Can Carol come over here?
No, we don't wanna. Of course you can, Carol. How are you, Carol?
Hi.
How are you?
Very good.
Good. How's the baby doing?
Amazing.
Oh, that's great. So how is it living with Dean?
Uh-oh.
No,
Be honest, tell
it's
us.
awesome. It's been challenging, but we had a relationship for a year before he got out of prison. Obviously, having a relationship over the phone, because we weren't allowed to do visits because of COVID. So we really only met each other for like a month and a half, and I probably visited like 4 times a week for a month and a half. But I'll tell you what, I think because he put so much effort into our relationship um, during the time when he was in prison, it helped us out when he got out. I mean, he found out when COVID happened, and he was on this sanitation job. He made sure he got on a job. He talked to his CO, and he was like, so everyone else was locked in their cell for like a year, and Dean was out 3 times a day on the phone calling.
Allowed to get to a phone, in other words, is what she's saying. It allowed me to call her a lot.
I mean, there was guys that literally did not talk to their family maybe once a week, and he just made it happen. And I feel like because we grew through COVID, sadly a lot of people didn't have that chance. But yeah, it's really good living with him. He is super helpful. I can't believe he's such a good dad. I don't know if that is because he didn't grow up with parents and because he wants to be the complete opposite of.
Well, that's one of the reasons. That's for sure.
Exactly.
But when I was pregnant, he was doing like all the dishes and cleaning the bathroom.
Hey, don't be putting me out there in front of everybody. No.
I took advantage of it, and he's still helping out a lot. But no, it's really good. It's I feel like sometimes he deals with his anxiety and his anger, and some of the stuff he's still.
I shut down a little bit sometimes. I get a little quiet, but she's come to understand that I'm probably dealing with something. So she'll give me that little bit of space. In other words, you have to learn about each other. That's, it got a little rocky for a little while. I kind of drove her to the edge a couple of times, but we figured it out.
He also had like that 30-day parole violation. So when the baby was 3 months, he went back for 30 days. So that was really hard. But I had the support of his family and my family, and everybody was really awesome about it. But it's scary. It's scary having somebody on parole. It's a different kind of lifestyle. That's why, like, when people do give you dirty looks or do say something or make comments, you just got to let it go, because when it comes down to it, he really will get back in action if he.
Yeah, and it's not worth it. It's so not worth it.
So yeah, so it's just, he's a great guy. He's been through a lot, and his adjustment hasn't been easy. I don't think it's been, too difficult compared to some people, but
yeah,
can't
that's for sure.
say enough good things about him.
Things could be a lot worse. I mean, I've been fortunate in that sense. I'm watching other guys, they're struggling. You have nobody, no money, and you get stuck in a halfway house. Where do you go from there? I mean, even in that situation, I think I would have given my best effort. But the one thing is, I'm not shy. I have a good work ethic, Angel. It might have been in a negative form before, but that's one of the things that saved me too. I'm not shy about going to work and working hard. And in fact, I worked so hard, I worked myself right in the carpal tunnel.
I see. Oh, wow.
That's from probably not having employment my whole life. And then all of a sudden I got employment. I'm going at it really hard. And so, I'm 55. My job required some physical labor, and it caught up to me. But I'm going to go for surgery soon and take care of that. And it's almost time to get back to work. We heard a loud noise. We want to make sure the baby's fine. What the hell was that? Anyway.
I heard it too.
Yes. We got so much stuff cluttering the house. It's time for us to store this stuff, some of this in the attic. The baby's got stuff scattered. No, I mean, it's still like baby's chairs and baby's playpen in here. Big playroom.
Aww.
What else do you have, Andrew? I'm sure you had some questions the last time. I was preparing to answer for you.
Yeah, I was very curious about like when you started school in prison, and you answered everything. I mean, you
I got to ramble on and jam it all in there.
That's okay. That's fine. It's very interesting. But now when you so you got into the program in prison, and then how long before you got out?
But the dog training program?
No, the all the programs you were doing,
All right.
the
Well,
classes.
there's various other programs that are not attached to the college. Those I've been doing off and on for years.
Okay.
The average guy in there, I think it takes you about 6 years in minimum to acquire an associate's because there's so many guys. You have to wait your turn. So many classes are allotted, but the better you do on tests, the farther you get boosted up, for a lack of a better term. And I ended up doing so well, qualifying for what's called Bill and Melinda Gates started a program in there. I forget what it's called, the Sunshine Program. Once I qualified for that, that puts you on the bullet train. That means you could do 4 classes a year, even in the summer. And once I got on that, I won that scholarship. That paid for extra. So I ended up doing 3 courses at a time. And I acquired mine in a couple of years, which is only a normal amount of time for an associate. Basically, I acquired my associates in like 2.5 years, which is considered very fast in there. And I got into a bachelor's degree program. The thing is, by the time I got started in college, I was close to my release. Or I would have kept going, but I got released, and I'm still actually, as we speak, I'm in a bachelor's degree program, but I had to put it on hold. There's just too much going on. I just started so late that I only got to an associate's and then I got out. But so it started, I would say, about 4 years ago? Something like that. It started, and I was done within a couple of years. I finished.
Wow, that's really good. So now, how did you get released? Was it like from the one-step program or anything like that?
In short, first I went for parole. The first time I went up, they laughed at me for even going. And I knew, you're not going to make your first shot. And in my situation, 90% of the guys who are career felons, you're not going to make parole. I would have never made parole were it not for the actions I took. So then when the board changed, we got new members, the new regime, and that woman said to me, I don't believe for 1 second you've changed, and you're the type of guy you get cornered in a bank when you get out and you'll shoot it out with the cops. I vote against you. I'm not letting you out. And I'll see you in 4 years, or whatever it was. And so against all hope, I just kept going. I didn't give up. I kept doing more programs. And by the time I seen this board a third time, I had a lot of accomplishments, and there were a couple of new members on the board. And there was 4 members on my board, and 3 of them were so impressed, they outvoted the head of the board. And basically, that's how I got released. They outvoted her. Even when you get a release, most states, you get a release, you're out that day, within weeks, within months. My release, what was it, a 2-year release date or something? I had to wait like 2 years after making parole. That's a very difficult thing. Like, so walking a tightrope, you're paroled, but your release date's in 2 years. Good luck out there in the prison yard. You follow me?
Very wow. I didn't know that they did that. They do things like that.
It's amazing. Most states, you get right out. In other words, because the reason why they do that is even though you make a parole, there is a certain, not a mandate, there's a certain, you have to meet a certain requirement. One of the requirements is I have to do 2/3 of my sentence before I can even be considered for release. And so when they told me that 2 years was going to put me within that time frame. So that's why they did that, to make sure and to let you know, we're not taking this so lightly. Really, by the time I made parole, I had gained so much good time. I really only had less than 3 years left. So on a 30-year sentence. So I did 18 years. I could have did around 22 years and got out. That means I knocked 8 years off my sentence in good time. That's a lot. That you have to do a lot of work to pull that off. Anyone that's familiar will say, what was you in school every day for 10 years? Well, pretty much, yeah. Because you get good time from every program, 3 days, 2 days. I just kept chipping away at it. And in the beginning, my goal was to do these programs only to get the good time. Because I didn't anticipate ever make a pro. I said, well, at least I can do this and knock my sentence down. But what happened was, between the programs and all the different things that happened to me, I told you, the anger, and I started writing. It all culminated together to become one big positive thing for me. I just ended up making my goal to change. It was almost by accident I changed in a sense, because I put myself in a situation where I looked around. Well, you came this far, why wouldn't you go for it? Type of thing. I went kicking and screaming almost towards it. Yeah. And to some people might say, well, that don't sound good. That means you haven't really changed. No, believe me, the change is here. And then once you make the goal to change, then it started being ingrained in me. And then I reached a point where I knew that was it. I'll never look back. It's very difficult in there when you're on that path, because there are guys that know you're on this positive thing, and they know they might want to test you now where they wouldn't have tested you before, or maybe you insulted that guy or did something to him years ago. You have guys that are stupid enough to say, you know what, maybe I can strike back now. He ain't gonna do nothing. There really are guys that think that's small in there. I was fortunate enough to not have to deal with any of that, because I treat guys generally with respect anyway. In general,
Right.
I know how to navigate it. I hate to say it, but I know how to do time. That's why. But now when I look back at myself, then I don't even know how the hell I did it. How did you make it through all of that? Because so many guys came undone serving that kind of time. You can't tell. You could talk to a guy, you look at him, you wouldn't know that this guy might not be right in the head, until then suddenly they may do something so off. You'd be like, wow, where the hell did that come from? And that's what a true sociopath is too. They can act normal, they can act civilized in society, but they can do stuff outside the norm and then go back to acting civilized. And I was a guy that could do that once upon a time. I could act like I had to do away with all that. It questioned myself, Dean, did you do that for the right reason, or did you do it because you're just trying to? I questioned myself all along the way until I just wore myself down with all that. And then I just started feeling different about change. And now I'm just that guy who made the change. In my mind, a lot of people still ain't going to buy into it. But hey, you ain't going to do the hard work I did just to throw it away.
Exactly.
I wrote millions of words, the books. I wrote 4 books. One I never even put to use. I just kind of wrote one draft, tossed that aside. I wrote 2 novels, an autobiography, and several short stories. I tell you that just to tell you the effort I put into writing. I've probably been doing it for like about 12 years now, and I don't think anything's been more helpful than that, as far as while I was inside. And then on the outside, it's been a couple of family members and my wife, and my wife's parents, actually, and who aren't the kind of people who easily accept some ex-con into their life. But they watched for a while, they see my behavior, and they're no suckers, they're no dummies either. And they started to see the genuineness in me. And there's nothing like this is the first time in my life I've had good people with no agenda behind me. Follow me? A lot of times people want to help you, but they have an agenda. Now the circles I'm in are people, their only agenda is to see me do well. That's the first time in my life I've ever had that. So that's another good thing I have in my life.
Right. You have a good support system.
Yeah, and I don't want to let people down. I'm a very loyal guy. I have all these other motivating things that keep me in line. For a little while when I first got out, I found my thinking was kind of, slipping off the tracks a little frustration. I'm a guy that even when I was out, I'm used to having money, large sums of money. I had to get past all that stupid shit and learn to work for my money and pay bills and learn to respect money. And thank God I had a little bit of financial backing to help me get through some hard times. And, so really I have a lot of people to thank for my change in that sense. But I hope I answered a good portion of that question for you. It's such an odd way. My approach, the way I tell it, is probably different from most guys. A lot of guys, they found God, they found this, they found that, and it helped them change. And good for them. Me, for some reason, I always got to do things the hard way, Angel. I don't know why. And it seems like I took the scenic route for change, but I guess no matter how you get there, as long as you get there, as long as you arrive, right?
Yeah, well, you're lucky. You had somebody, waiting for you. What happens when another man who doesn't have that gets out after 30 or 20 years? What happens to them?
A lot happens to them. They're up against a lot because you feel alone out here in the world. I mean, I even question my ability to be in a mature relationship, because my relationships weren't relationships in the past, just fast women, not all generic shit. Now I had to act like an adult. I have a woman who understood that she just understood where I was coming from. And not that I did anything particularly immature, but there was some immaturities. Like I said, when you serve a lot of time, there's no emotional growth. Emotional intelligence is a big thing. If you don't have that, what I mean by that is like a guy gets angry and it's misdirected. He takes it on the next person that arrives. Shit like that. I had to examine all that. And you don't get to grow in prison emotionally. So, a guy who doesn't have that ability comes out. If he starts dating a woman, he starts feeling like he's suffocating because, you can't just go leave all hours of the night and do what you want and then come home. You can, but if that woman's allowing that, that's not really a healthy relationship. Like, Carol wasn't going for that shit. And I had to learn to, like, stay home. At first, when you get out, you want to go do all kind of different things, that hang out with your friends. Even if she didn't have a problem with it, it's not a good not a good look. How's your girlfriend going to think you're out at the casino with your friends all night? That's not a good look for someone just starting a relationship, right? Exactly. So I put some of those things, not to say that I don't have fun and go out and do things, but there's just certain things you don't do. There's a line you don't cross. And I had to train myself to not train myself, but I had to come to the realization, you don't cross this line. That ain't fair to her. That means I'm giving her 20% of me while she's giving me 100% of herself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of guys that get out aren't ready to do that, aren't ready to make that type of commitment in a relationship. I think being committed in a relationship is what helped me, because I'm this old guy told me one time, he goes, Dean, what's going to help you in the long run in a relationship and things like that is you're very loyal. So because Tara was so loyal to me and backed me in such a massive way that I know I owed it to her to give that right back. And so I'm smart enough to know, listen, don't go running around with your fucking friends and act like an asshole while she's home waiting for you. Not that she's going to tolerate too much of that bullshit either, but in other words, my loyalty to her, I told myself, you can't behave a certain way. Because in the beginning, I started doing certain things that are unhealthy for the relationship. Nothing so bad that, it's going to break us apart, but it was the beginning of deterioration. And I started creating a deterioration between us. And I had to put check myself. And Carol had to check me a couple of times too. Listen, if you're going to want to be in this relationship, she has an adult approach to a relationship. She had to show me a couple of things. And it's very unselfish. Not that she was trying to be selfish. I was the one being selfish. So I had to learn how to be mature in a relationship. But to answer your question about the guys that get out with nobody or nothing, man, that is one lonely fucking road to be on, Angel. Especially if you're sitting in a halfway house somewhere. And if you don't have the financial means to go get yourself an apartment, you need a car or an apartment to move around, to go to your job, to go to, if you want to hold down a job, how are you going to drive to South County every day if that's where the job is?
Well, how do you even get a job?
Well, on that, I was fortunate enough, my brother and a family friend knew of this gentleman.
Well, I know how you got a job, but how does somebody who doesn't have anybody out there?
Personally, if I'm in that situation, I'm going to find a job. I'm just confident.
Yeah, right.
But guys I don't know, there are a lot of guys who can't seem to think outside the box. And maybe it's because they served a lot of time. But in my case, I learned to think outside the box while I was doing time. Yeah. No, don't have the ability to work. Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, don't have the ability to work because mentally prison kind of, did a lot of damage. Well, that goes back to what I was saying about doing your time in a healthy way. Because they, all the things you learn in prison about how to conduct yourself as a man is kind of upside down. You can't bring that shit out here. So that's why I say you have to serve your time a certain way to learn. You got to have empathy for normal people, learn how normal people live, and then keep that prison shit separate. A lot of guys come out here with that prison mentality. That's not going to work. You're going to have a boss that's going to say something to you occasionally that's going to piss you off. You're going to learn to accept that and differentiate between that and prison. I had that ability. If I came out with nothing to nobody, I would get a job nearby if I had to walk to work. That's what I was going to prepare to do.
Right.
More fortunate. But for those guys, most guys get out. They don't really have that ability to communicate. That they don't have that communication skill. They can't tolerate a coworker who's only joking and calls you, comes at you sideways in a joking manner. You know, then a guy that did a lot of time isn't used to that type of behavior, and you can't respond to this guy. Hey, shut the fuck up! I'll punch you in the mouth like you're in the fucking prison yard. A lot of guys might respond like that on the job, at their job site. You're gonna get fired. You can't behave like that.
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot of psychological stuff a guy has to learn. And so when you ask me how does a guy get out and get a job, first he has to overcome that, the false pride, and put your pride to the side a little, as they say too. You can be creative. If you have to take a bus, you take a bus. You got to start at the bottom. You got to, that's what you have to do. It's difficult, but guys do it. There are a lot of guys who have done it. And listen, I'm proud of those guys. I used to say to myself, look at these suckers getting out, getting a job, taking a bus. I would never do that. Here it is 30 years later. These guys are still out. They raised their family and they're doing well. I think that's another one of the things that motivated me to change it. I seen that if you put enough effort into it, it can work because I've seen guys do it. So I'm now that guy. It's too bad I learned it so late in life, but those guys who did that or never went back to prison inspired me. They don't even know it. Hopefully some of them are watching this now. They're all in their 70s and shit now. The ones that are alive. So listen, a guy can do it, but it starts on the inside, Angel. Because if you only embrace the prison culture and that way of living, you will not grow. You will not grow. You have to, and not everybody's fortunate enough to have visits. I had visits. I had people to call. I would make phone calls anytime I could, even be a pain in the ass, but I knew it was healthy for me. Call nieces, nephew, friends, this one, that one, and just to communicate and see what's going on in their life. And I would go and I would think about the stuff they told me going on in their life, and I would apply that to me in an imaginary sense. Okay, Dean, someone just told me today, I'm thinking I'm just referring after a phone call years ago, I'd go back to my cell and I would think about what that person said about the bills, about the relationship, how they're having problems. And I would just analyze what they said. And I would just kind of prepare myself for things I'd be up against. I know I said this several times already, but I can't stress it enough. It's important how you serve your time. And if you don't, and maybe that doesn't work for everybody. That's what worked for me. I suggest anyone doing a lot of time, at least take a look at some of my suggestions. And I probably got this from somebody else myself. I just knew the difficulties because I had been released 2 times before, previous to that. And I remember, I'll never forget when I was released when I was 21. And I went to a family member's, and these people are listening right now. I went to my sister-in-law's house, 21 years old. I mean, they knew me, but they knew me as the criminal. I'm out. They know I'm still engaged in stuff on the street. But when I was at their house, my sister-in-law had some friends over her house. And they were engaged in a conversation about just normal current stuff going on in the world. And I was lost. The fucking conversation was lost on me, Angel. And I would excuse myself from the room and go out back and tell them I had something to do, just to not be there. So when the conversation came around to me, I didn't want to look like a goddamn fool. A lot of guys know how to be crafty and get away from a situation before they had to. Instead of making themselves look stupid, you'll do something else to get out of that conversation. You follow me? And I never forgot that happened to me that day. That I couldn't engage in a normal conversation. I didn't know what they were talking about. I had no clue. And I excused myself. And I never forgot from that point on, when I did go back to prison, I remembered that. Even when I wasn't trying to change or make a positive change, I still was trying to educate myself. Just for the simple fact, when I got back out, even as a criminal, I didn't want to meet some woman and have dinner with her and then look like a goddamn moron at a conversation. So I was always trying to improve myself anyway. So that's something else I should have said. Not in a positive way, but it's a positive way, but I wasn't trying to change the criminal aspect of me, but I was always trying to educate myself.
I was just going to say to better yourself. Right.
I can conduct myself in society when I am around.
Right.
But the whole positive change thing kind of came years later as far as not committing crime anymore and violence and all that. that came years later. But I guess all the things I did before that along the way, I guess made it that much more, easier for me to make that final change. And like I said earlier, I did it gradually. And this probably ain't the answer a lot of people are looking for. Maybe they're all looking for this magic thing I found in one day that worked. No, I don't think it works like that. I don't think you find, maybe some guys do have an epiphany one day and they never look back. That's not really what happened to me. It was one thing here, one thing over there. Then I discovered the anger was fucking doing me in. And all these things came together to form, to create a different mentality. And when I finally got this certain mentality, that allowed me to go further. I mean, that's how it kind of happened for me.
So do you engage now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I intend to give speeches again. I have people that want me to give speeches, not just at high schools, but I might, there's these different organizations. I might go see another guy that's giving a speech. I really haven't done a lot of civic things, and I don't want to overstate who I am. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you I'm this great guy. It's hard enough being a husband and a father, and just engaging people in my immediate circle. It's not hard, but that is I'm filled up with that right now. But I intend to push further and get involved in maybe something civically, so to speak. Like guys, right now, some guys are involved at the State House with trying to. They want to help guys in solitary confinement. They're trying to turn that around. How much time a guy serves. So I might get involved in something like that. I
would love to get involved in that. I'm serious.
Yeah, that's something I'm taking a look at. But right now, writing's keeping me busy. Just the podcast. I mean, talking to you guys, my YouTube channel. I'm a pretty busy guy. But when I am out and about in my daily, everyday thing, when I'm working or shopping, I do, if someone comes up to me and begins a conversation because something brought us together, I can now comfortably engage this person in a conversation.
Right.
About a time I would have shut the conversation down and took off. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I couldn't hold the conversation. I'm always up to a challenge. So I now it's not even, I don't have to think about it anymore. It's just natural for me now. But when I first got out, here's a good example. The day I was released, my then girlfriend picked me up. The prison gives you a check. You drive up the road, you go into the bank to cash your check. And she was a little weary. Dean, you want me to go in? I said, no, Carol, I'm going in on my own to do it. What? Yes, I'm going in on my own and doing this. And that's what I did. I went in and cashed the check on my own.
I didn't want anyone to be mean to you.
Yeah, she didn't want nobody to be mean to me or because I might fumble around, which maybe there was a little, but I don't have a problem asking a question, Angel. That's a big thing. If I don't know, I'm not shy about asking. And my sister's like that too when I was with her in the beginning. Dean, you sure I want me to go with you? Want me to make the phone call for you? No, I'll handle this. And I have to do it on my own sometimes. Or if I don't know, I'll ask you to teach me. And those are the little things along the way where a lot of guys that serve time, they'd rather not let people know they don't know. Instead of letting someone know they don't know, they'd rather not even engage in the thing at all, and they'll deal with it some other time. I don't do that shit, Angel. Me, I deal with the problem right there, and if I don't know, I'll ask. I don't care if I have to ask an 18-year-old store clerk a question. Hey, listen, sometimes I'll tell them right out, listen, I've been on a circulation. I'm a little ignorant to this. Can you tell me about this? I'll use humor to get to
Yeah.
I've learned tricks like using humor to get to the point. A lot of times, sometimes they'll look at you like you're crazy. Oh, God, I got to get this guy away from me. Sometimes it could be a little overbearing. Sometimes I learn to tone it down. I'm learning as I go. Either way, I'm not going to let my false pride get in the way of me progressing.
It is hard with calling doctor's appointments.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of things my wife has to still help me with. It's hard for me to keep up on a lot of doctor's appointments. Right now, I'm collecting TDI. Well, I don't have TDI in other states. I collect temporary disability, and I have the issue in court I'm dealing with the workers' compensation. I have a lot of things I'm juggling, and my wife has to stay on top of it with me or for me or remind me a lot because it's a lot. It's too much for something people that have been out here their whole life, they take for granted. It's still a lot for me. Don't get me wrong. I don't have it down pat, but I'm not shy about asking my wife to help me, and she's willing and able to. A lot of people might not be willing to put that much of their time aside for you. My wife does, so I've been fortunate. There's a lot of things that come together where I've been fortunate too. So, it's a lot. You don't think it's a lot until you pick it apart, or I break it down. And you're like, geez, I never looked at it. That's a normal day for me. For you, I can see how that's a lot, Dean. So that's really what's been going on in a nutshell as far as my adjustment. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff. You probably have to pull it out of me, though. I can't think of it right
I didn't have to pull anything out of you, Dean. You pretty much covered everything. But what about, you said that you teach kids at high school?
Well, when I was inside, you ever see the skits?
Yeah, so that's what I was just going to ask you. So it's like a Scared Straight program?
Yeah, this was similar, and they used to let us use that type of intimidation tactic, but then they did away with that. As you know, that type of shit don't fly anymore. They don't want you approaching a kid with this type of tactic.
Why? Because it woke?
Yeah, well, we have to start using psychological tactics. And I'm a little guy, so I'm not going to scare a kid with my presence. But what I would do is get inside their head psychologically, and like the certain kids they'd point out that are trouble kids, and I would get near this kid and use the tactic I would use certain words. Like for instance, one kid who was sitting up in the front row in the prison like a tough guy. Hey, kid, I ain't afraid of you. And the first thing I would say, know what you're thinking. You're looking at, and excuse the language for anyone, but this is the language they want us to use. You guys are looking at the big muscle-bound black guy over there, and you might be afraid of him, but you're looking at me. Well, let me tell you something about, because really the reality is, people think you go to prison, it's the big muscle-bound guy you got to be afraid of. They don't understand what's really behind it. It's the little guy that might be more dangerous because he had to put in much more work to defend himself. And I explained to the kid what I'm capable of doing with a knife, and I'd be honest about it, and he'd see it come out of me. I would tap into the old Dean just enough for this kid to see it, and then once they feel it, you have to use an intimidation tactic to get them to listen. You have to get these kids to respect you, and then once I get them to respect me, then I can give them the positive message. Follow me? But we had to eventually turn down the psychological approach where you're scaring them. And I had to use other tactics. For instance, they'll look up to me because I'm serving time for bank robbery. Use my bank robbery title, but then I explained to them how that's for losers. Once they respect, now you got the guy who actually did the bank robbery telling you that's a loser's game. So I would have to use that type of tactic, if that makes sense. You get them to respect you, because sometimes those kids, they don't respect the prisoners when they come up there, because you're not saying anything that scares them or makes them get in their head. So I would explain to them what I'm capable of, who I was. Once and then you can see that now they kind of fear you. Then you take that element away and you give them the positive message of poor choices, influences, how I allowed negative influences to dictate, the choices I made in life. People I looked up to, and I explained to them how that didn't work for me, and I explained why. I mean, I don't know what you was going to ask me about that, but that's one.
Well, I was just going to ask you, how successful is that program?
It's hard to say how many kids you reach, but we would get letters back from kids occasionally, and sometimes 2, 3, 4 years later, you'll see some of those kids come into the prison system as a prisoner.
That's so sad.
I really don't know how successful it is. I don't really have the
statistics.
But you notice I've been having trouble with that word since I've been taught, even in the last video. But if I reach one kid in one class, then I guess I did my job that day. I feel good about that,
That's true.
And depending on what part of the state it comes from, would determine what tactic. If they're from a rural area, we know it's not in a city, so they're not really necessarily dealing with drug dealers and shit like that. They're dealing with drinking and driving, because I know in that certain part of the state or in that high school, there's a high rate of DUIs and kids being killed. So we'll use that approach. The alcohol, we'll elaborate more on that. If they're an inner city kid, I talk about being influenced by drug dealers in the neighborhood. So I would adjust my speech to that particular school. You follow me? How successful I do not know, but I got some. I did that for like 6 years, and it really did something for me. It did. Uh, it just, I don't know. It kind of and you engage the teachers, and so I may ultimately, if I find the time, and I will go back to some of the high schools, but this time from the street, and continue with those speeches. And that's one of a few things I have planned for the future.
Do you have to like is did you have to take a program to learn like the psychology of all of that, of dealing with these kids?
No, you
Just tell your life experience and that's it.
well, you need experience in giving speeches. Yeah, I mean, they'll let anybody try, and if you do a shitty job, they'll cast you aside and go for the next guy. I went to a brass, and they said, listen, they already know I had something to offer based on my history. Whether or not I can tell a story right where the kid's getting it, because you have to have some type of ability, a soft skill, they'll call it.
Right.
And I already had read a little psychology, like I told you, so I knew how to, what I had to say. I wasn't sure if I would be able to express it properly. And I fumbled around a little bit, but I think they seen in me the potential to do it. And so I just kept getting better, and I'd ask other guys advice. At first, I was trying to I would write all these bullet points down and try to remember it word for word. What I learned is you're not going to remember a speech. And that was so I would start to remember just a couple of things, and I learned I have an ability to naturally elaborate on something. I may tend to sometimes carry on a little too much, and I bleed into something else, and I have to rein it in sometimes. But I just happen to have a natural ability to. And I did take one class. It was a college course. I wasn't even signed up for the course, but the professor allowed me to sit in up at the prison. It's an acting class. I didn't do it for the acting. I did it to learn how to, because actors have to learn how to behave around in front of
Right. Right.
And so I got a little bit from that. I just did any opportunity I could do to learn. I would learn, how to talk in front of a crowd. Eventually, after a couple of years, I got comfortable with it. It took a while. Kind of intimidating, really, not for nothing. You get nervous. I was holding my hands together, and I'd ask the guy, what was I doing wrong? And I just kept working on it. It's a lot of work, actually. Now that I think back to it. A lot of fumbling around. I just don't know how to lay it out. I'm going to keep going. I told myself. They told me until they throw me out or I make it. And I ended up making it. So I made the cut.
So your book, Dark Impressions, which I got, and I can't wait to read it. But that book, you wrote that while you were in solitary confinement?
Well, actually, it started in solitary confinement. I told you a story the other day where I wrote the short story, a true story, while I was in high security.
Right.
And then I was motivated by a guy to keep writing. Then I started to write an autobiography. When I say write it, I mean I scratched a bunch of stuff out. I don't act like I sat down and wrote a book. What happens is you got to scratch a bunch of shit out, and then you rewrite it again. And you're not writing until you're rewriting, first of all. You're going to write these books 4, 5, 6 times before you're actually writing a book. You just get better each time. So I started writing an autobiography, and then I realized I can't write anything. I wasn't able to write what I wanted to without incriminating myself. You have to learn how to write an autobiography. That's a whole other beast in itself. Then I realized maybe I can write a fiction story and write fiction things that are very realistic. That I knew that would be the best approach. And so I put down autobiography attempt, and I just created a fiction story. But I took real things that happened in history, some things that happened to me, nothing that's revealing anything about anybody. There's the characters are fictitious. The character in there actually isn't based on Nick's uncle. Just I was trying to capture the essence of him. Nothing he said or did is in there. Just the essence of who he was.
Oh, I see.
Basically, the guy Rudolph was short, but he had this giant aura. You're in a room with a guy like this. They're no longer some short guy. There's something about his aura that makes him appear a giant. So I wanted to capture I wanted the character to be like that, and I captured some of the other things from him. So the story is fiction, but I like to think just the things that I write about are very realistic. Like the guy doesn't get at the end of the book $10 million. He rides off into the fucking sunset. You may be a broke guy walking out of prison without financial, and that's what I wanted to write. A lot of people like to read fiction to escape reality. And I said to myself, you're taking a chance. Because if you write reality in fiction form, you might not get, people might not want to read it because they read fiction to escape reality. In a sense, they want this grandiose thing, some people. Now, I ain't speaking for all readers, but I do know that a lot of people pick up a novel to escape reality. But I'm writing a novel that's realistic. Am I making sense with what I'm saying? So, but there's a term for that. I think they call that not biographical. There's a term for writing like that. You're writing reality where, like the bank robbery the kid does in there. He only grabs 1,000 or 60,000. He grabs 20,000. Really, people will be like, "That's it." It ain't where somebody might write the bank robbery to grab $2 million. Well, the average bank robbery is not $2 million. I know that for a fact. But so I write what it is for a kid to only grab 20,000 and make the best of that 20,000 to do another score. The whole idea is robbing a bank to put money together to do another score. That's the reality of a guy in that situation. And that's the way I wanted to write it. And it's very realistic. And then there are some elements in there that aren't associated with me at all, like the IRA guy. That's just, I wanted to give the protagonist some substance to his background. And really, to my second novel, I started to improve on giving the characters substance. That novel is it's motivated by conflict, which is what Dark Impressions is. It's a lot of conflict, which keeps you interested. In the second book, I gave the characters more of a background. What's up, Carol?
Tell them what you had to do to write that.
Well, what do you mean? What I had to do to write that book in prison? What do you mean exactly? Carol's reminding me of things I spoke about in regards to the book.
Yeah.
You wrote it in high security. But
yeah.
With dim light, pencils, very little.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I told you, but I had to hand write the book, first of all. All my materials had to be handwritten because they don't allow you to write material like that in the library on the typewriter. That's only for legal work. And this prison doesn't allow typewriters like other prisons. So we're talking about a guy, pencils became my life. I would gather, and you're only allowed 2 pencils, so real pain in the ass, ain't you? You gotta hide pencils just to keep the flow going.
Yeah.
When you sell. So pencils and erasers became my life. And I would write out, to answer your question, I'm sorry, because I kind of got away from me. Yeah, I did start writing in high security. And then I was in maximum, then I was transferred to maximum security. But while in max, I went back to segregation. And actually, when I one of the things I did was this. I needed the book to be typed up. So I went on a site where writerprisoner.com at the time, to meet someone. I knew I needed to meet somebody that would help me type the book up. So that was my agenda when I went on the site. So I submitted my name to this site. I met some girl just as a friend. And she was a fellow writer, and she's somewhat of an activist with guys in prison. She wrote back the last 2 weeks, this thing was going to run out, and it was only good for a year. And I said, if I don't meet someone in a year for help, I ain't going to keep bothering. 2 weeks left, don't you know? I got a response. I became friends with the person. That person typed my manuscript up for me. I wasn't allowed to do it from in there. And they submitted it to Amazon for me. Okay? I got another story behind that, and I'm trying to decide if I want to continue on this road because this relationship went sour in a real bad fucking way. So anyway, that person, all they did was they typed it up, and they didn't have any skills at editing. They were supposed to edit it, but they did the best they could. So there was some errors. I was unhappy with that, but how I complain? They put an effort into it. So ultimately, don't you know, I'm in segregation when the book gets released. And I knew it was going to be released that month, and I was in the hole because I got in trouble. And I asked the correctional officer, hey, do me a favor. Look online and see if this. Here I am in shackles going to my cell on recreation and segregation and maximum security. I said, go online, go on Amazon, see if my book's on there. So on my way back to my cell, he calls me to the side. He says, hey, look, there's my book on Amazon. And listen, that was a massive accomplishment for me in those circumstances. Even without them circumstances, it's a good thing, right? So I went back to my cell in real good spirits. I did the rest of my segregation time. That just it lifted my spirits and it motivated me to keep writing. So I just, I continued writing even while in the hole. And then I ended up in population writing and then in media security. I just never stopped writing from the time I picked up the pencils to the time I got out, basically. But in that journey, I was in the hole and out the hole and several times over. And don't you know, so I took the book back from that woman. I couldn't have a bank account either, Angel. You need a bank account. You need a routing number in order for Amazon to put your book on the site because they need somewhere to send the money when you make a sale. So I trusted this woman. I had her put the book up in her bank account on her site. So I'm in prison. All these things are happening to my book. It felt like I didn't have control of my whole book. It drove me nuts, I will tell you. But I trusted her. She did it. She did that for me. Put it on her account. So now I want to remember this, right? I want to step carefully how I say this to you, but don't you know? So I get out. I had the book transferred to another friend locally because she moved to Indiana, and I thanked her for all that help, and I put it in a friend's account locally. He took care of it for me for the rest of the way I get out because it's very difficult to retrieve your book back from these people because Amazon is the company I did it through initially is called Create Space. They shut down and another company took over. So I had to prove who I was. They just put my wife, Carol, went to hell to get that book back and put it on my account. I'll spare you all the details, but it was a real pain in the ass. Months of painstaking to get my own book back. So finally we get it back, and one day, and any money that I had made up to that point, I allowed my friend to keep. It wasn't a lot. I wasn't able to market it, so there wasn't a lot of sales. But don't you know, that woman, her only job, and I paid her some money to help me out, to type my book up. I paid you to type the book up. Don't you know this woman got bitter when I took that book from her? One day I'm on my porch, I'm looking at my book for sale on these sites that I'm like, Amazon isn't a parent company of these sites. This woman was selling my book on a site
oh my God.
I want to warn viewers right now. If you see that book on a different site for more than what you see it on Amazon for, do not purchase it. Some jerk off selling my book for $30 on another site. They'll buy the book and resell it. People do that.
And she was putting her name as an author.
Putting her name as the author of my book. She didn't think I'd ever find out because she knew I was computer illiterate. But what she didn't anticipate was my tenacity and my wife's ability. I figure things out. I have my way of doing it. And between me and my wife, one day I'm like, this don't look right. And my wife got to the bottom of it. And sure enough, she denied it. But once I confronted her, she took them all down. She had my book in all these sites in other countries and everything. Listen, the old thing would have flew down to that state she's living in, and I would have had to resolve this issue my old way. I just stayed patient. My wife had to work her ass off to knock these sites down, confront everybody, and get to the bottom of it. Finally, I got my book back. But once after that, we seen it on a different site where it didn't belong. People have the nerve to take your book and try to resell it on another site. My book's on Amazon and a few other companies. It should be no more than 17 change. Is that where it's at, Carol, right, at the moment? Yeah. It should be no more than $20. Anyone trying to sell it for more than that, it's an imposter selling my book. But I don't think you're going to run into that problem. I think Carol put an end to it. But that's one of many crazy stories I have in my life. That's the type of shit I was enduring. And she was counting on my ignorance to social media and stuff, and she was getting away with it probably for about a year. So there you go.
Oh, wow.
I was right. Unbelievable story, but, that's what she did to me. She felt she had a claim to this book or something because she helped type it. I mean, I appreciate what you did, but I wrote the book. What are you doing? You know what I mean? I think she fell on hard times and was like earning. And I could tell she was dating a guy who seemed like a drug. She told me the guy was a drug addict. So she got together with this drug addict. He probably had to craft the idea. Hey, here's what he'll do. That's me just assuming. Either way, that's what they were doing to me. And boy, that pissed me off, Angel. But
I don't blame you.
Right way.
I don't blame you. But did you ever think of doing it, the audio of the book?
Yeah, I'm prepared to do that right now. I'm going to do it soon. The only reason why I'm not doing an audio book is because I'm revising this novel.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
I don't want to do it with that one. And I don't want any viewer to think, well, why would I buy this one? You're going to revise it another way. There's something about this book that has my heart, because this one you have now, that's the raw Dean. And
exactly.
Right now. And a lot of my emotion. Let me tell you something. I tear it up right in that book. I'll write a scene about the character. He's going. I remember the first time I got emotional while I'm writing that book was I wrote about the protagonist. He's on his way to the training school, and there's a certain at the time, instead of a sheriff, we had marshals. Those are the guys that take you back and forth to court, and they take you a certain route down 95 in Rhode Island to head into the next town to bring you to the training school. And I was writing about this journey to the training school, explaining the landscape outside the van, and then you're a kid, you're saying goodbye to Providence, and you're heading out to the training school. When you're a kid, that's a long journey. And when I was writing this scene, I got all emotional. I couldn't figure out what the hell's going on. I'm only writing about, and then I had taken that journey my whole life, Angel. And now I turned it around and I look at it through a different lens. Maybe I was having a moment of self-pity or something, but I was looking at that journey I took my whole life. Holy shit. And now I'm writing about it and I'm reflecting at it from another angle. It made me sad or something. I still don't really have an explanation, but that's the only thing that makes sense to me. And my point in being, when I wrote that novel, you have a lot of me, the raw moments like that poured into that book. Not saying every time I write it. It's always coming from within. But that's my first, because I'm really writing about myself in that aspect of the book.
Right.
I'm writing about myself taking that journey. And there's a lot of those elements in that book. That's me. And then you got the fictitious murders and stuff. That's not me. You can determine as the reader, this must be Dean. The moments like that. You can figure out when I'm writing about myself and when I'm not, for the most part. But
and your revised copy is going to have a different cover. So whoever has this original copy,
right?
Because that cover he chose in prison, he didn't have many covers.
Right. When I chose the cover that you have on that book there, I didn't have any choices. I didn't have an artist to put a book cover. I was working with pennies. So that was a cover I chose that Amazon offered to anyone who didn't have their own cover. So they have a selection of, say, generic covers. Okay, I'll take that one. I was in segregation when I chose the cover. So that's how you have that cover. And I was going to change that cover. And then as someone reminded me, Dean, maybe you should keep it. That's authentic to you writing that in prison. You might as well just hold on to it. So the revised copy is going to have a new cover. All it is, it's the same story, but it's me cleaning up certain aspects of it. It's the same story. It's the same book, but it's revised. So I figured I'll wait till that revised copy, then do the audiobook. But obviously that book has a special meaning to me. It's my first book that I ever wrote in the circumstances I wrote it in. So, maybe it's something to be said about doing that in an audiobook too, but it just seemed the logical thing to do was wait until I finish revising it. Does that make sense, Angel?
Yes, it does. Because I know a lot of people, I never knew this until I got on here, but a lot of people like the audio. I guess like when they're driving and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I definitely want to get in on that. Because, people, you can actually you can be at work, doing your job while you're employed and listen to it, So that's
exactly.
Why? So why not tap into that, right?
Exactly. Well, let me just read this, Dean. Justice Tech Pros, thank you so much. Stopping in for support. Angel, have a wonderful show. Dean seems like a genuine gentleman looking to start the next phase in his life, and I wish him the best. Hope all are enjoying their night. Great seeing all the wonderful people in the chat. Thank you, Dominic. Thank you. That's from Justice Tech Pros. And I just want to see if anybody has questions for you.
Yeah, I do better with questions and answers.
Yeah.
Both of me rambling on too much.
I think you answered a lot of mine here. Angel, Dean is very close to Uncle Gerard's son, Todd. He thinks the world of him.
Yes, yes, Todd is my friend.
Yeah, so this is Kevin is Gerard's nephew.
Yeah, I think I remember Kevin when he was a young man, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, so he is he's here supporting you.
Yeah, I hope I replied to. He had sent something. I believe he sent me some. I replied to him yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, or I'll double check to make sure I did. Yeah, he's correct. His Todd. I was very close to a Todd. Well, I still am. Nothing's really changed.
All right, good.
You know, I'm more of a loner nowadays. People don't really get to see me too often.
Aurora, I don't know how to say your name. I'm sorry. Dean is a true inspiration, regardless of his beginnings and all that time in prison. He is a gentleman, married to a wonderful woman from a great family and father to a beautiful baby girl.
I'll tell you, I've never heard so many nice things said about me in my life.
Yeah, see?
That in itself inspires me. You know, renews your faith in, I don't want to get carried away and say humanity, but it renews your faith in people. You know, we got a lot of, the mentality of people has changed dramatically in the world. So what I've noticed about your audience is, and I was grateful, is your audience, it seems, can appreciate more authenticity as opposed to some guy that wants to build himself up to be this big shot.
Exactly.
And because I write from a humble perspective, I like to think I was concerned that maybe that wouldn't go over so well, but it turns out your viewership can appreciate that. So thank you.
Yeah, exactly. They're really, we have the best people in this chat. We really do. Hi, MRE. MRE's in the chat. Let me see.
MRE.
Yeah, MRE's here. Let me see.
Go back to the past episodes of you and MRE. I'm sure there's some colorful episodes.
Oh, did you go back? You have to go back. You should go back to the very first one. I laughed so hard.
I will.
Yeah, there's a few in here. And I just want to say, somebody wrote in the comments, and I'm going to say this right now, that Bobby Luisi said that I should denounce MRE. Well, go back and tell Bobby Luisi that I said he should denounce himself. Look in the mirror and denounce yourself. Because I'll never denounce MRE.
Huh.
Angela says, MRE, I tried tagging you from my change. Not sure if I did it. Okay, let's see. Anybody have any questions? Oh, everybody's sharing it. Please, everybody, subscribe to Dean. They're all dropping your channel.
Listen, I ain't got nothing but positive feedback. I'll tell you. It's unbelievable.
Yes, right?
What a boost that was. Yeah, even mentally, because like I told you, I was not, I hate to use the word giving up because I don't like to give up on anything, but I just felt I had to sink my energy into other stuff. You've turned that around all within a couple of hours.
I'm so glad. Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up.
Yeah, those words will never come out of my mouth again.
Yeah, good. Very good. Please hit the like button, everyone. Oops, what happened? Oh.
Anything you want to speak on, Carol? Carol's my manager, so we have a lot of
that's really nice.
Has to remind me of things. Well, listen, I don't do that because she's my wife. I do it because she's a sharp girl and she knows how to, whatever she don't know, she usually figures out on the spot. She's been very helpful. I mean, at some point we intend to hire a professional for certain things, but if I happen to expand to that level. But Carol has been wonderful in making a lot of things happen. I listen. You're gonna be quick on your feet when you don't. If you're in my situation, just the frustration of just trying to get onto this site for someone like me is unbelievable.
Yeah, no, believe me, it's you. If I told you how I find myself, you wouldn't believe it. And I should know better, but I forget it. I find myself by putting my name in. I gotta put my name in. I don't even know how to find myself unless I put my name in the search it. Ken said, "This man's story gives me the chills. He's an inspiration. Everyone should buy his book. He speaks from his heart."
Thank you, Ken.
See, that's so nice. It's hard to find your way when you really feel that you are in darkness.
Oof.
That's what Karen said.
Oh, she couldn't have said it better. That's a terrible, lonely feeling in that darkness. That's a terrible feeling. I've been there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
To me, that translates no hope. To have no hope is a terrible feeling.
Exactly, it is. It really is.
I refuse to accept that, though. I felt that way for years. Then I reached a point where I refused to accept it.
Well, Gianni says, "I remember hearing a few horror stories about ACI when I was a kid. A couple of guys from town were in there. Oh, we're in there back in the day. Nothing glamorous, but then again, most prisons are bad, still are."
Oh, not a damn thing glamorous about that life, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, let me see what else. Assassinino says, "I think Dean is the perfect person for YouTube because he is really changing his life and he is no rat." There's a lot of them that get on here and pretend that they turned their life around, and meanwhile and I'm doing it for the kids and I'm teaching kids. Meanwhile, they get dressed up as a gangster with sunglasses on, holding a cigar, and they lie about what they did in their life. So you are a true inspiration.
Hey, I'm so glad to see this for what it is. There's people out there that could differentiate between the phony and the guys that are really trying. That's a big deal because there's a lot of good guys that are trying. They just don't have a platform, or they're not looking to be recognized for it. Not that I'm looking to be recognized for it. That's just something that happened. I started off selling books, but then it evolved into this. Where people are. This is actually a whole new thing for me. Where people are appreciating some of the things they can appreciate the impact I have.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was that guy they offered a lot less time to. The cops thought I was crazy when I wouldn't accept their deal to rat. And you know what? Look at me now. Now, the fact that I didn't, and I don't deserve no pat on the back for not ratting. You're not supposed to rat, so I get a pat on the back for it. But you know what? In this case here, it's like staying correct. It paid off in the end. Like at least I can live with myself, and it allows people to tap into my site. So there you go. I'm not saying I did it for any payoff or anything, but it turns out you do the right thing. Sometimes good things happen for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Marco says Dean got an education in prison and he's more articulate and more intelligent than the whole other side put together. And that's true. It's true, though. Let me see.
Yeah, I know.
Kevin says, "Very glad Dean is changing his life around. Salute, pal."
So these are guys all around the country, various states you're reading these from, huh?
Yeah, these people, I'm telling you, we have such nice people. Assassinino says, "Dean, I have a small channel, but if there is anything I can do to help you out, please don't hesitate." See, you have a lot of support, Dean.
That's really something.
Maureen says Dean has a big heart. God bless him.
Maureen. That's her name? She said Maureen?
Maureen, yes.
Thank you, Maureen, for recognizing that.
Yeah.
Amazing to go from being a guy who just took things all his life Uh, I think in a twisted sense, if you can make sense of it, even when I was at my worst, I was always decent to other people. I would always, even though I was committing bad over here and being immoral over here, I was
Right.
not stolen money and helping somebody over there. And other people didn't understand it, and I probably even understand it myself. So maybe in a sense, I always had that decent side and just never really tapped into it, I guess. Now I got to be careful here. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to promote myself in that sense. It's just even I surprise myself sometimes that and you should analyze yourself and get to the bottom of who you are, right? So you could say I'm still in the process of doing that.
Yeah.
What drives me to make me want to do positive things. Because I even question myself, Dean, are you trying to do something positive for it because you have a hidden agenda? And when I come up with the answer no, I have to ask myself, then I'm just not. That's a world I'm unfamiliar with actively doing positive things to give back. So, and I never was around a lot of positive people, so I never really learned the psychological reasoning behind people doing the right thing. Because a lot of times people don't know what they're doing the right thing with their own agenda. I guess if that agenda is something positive, then it's not a bad thing. But I'm continually analyzing myself. Probably too much so, but I guess it keeps me on the right path, Angel.
Yeah, exactly. Teresa says Dean and his beautiful wife are good people trying hard.
Oof.
Yep. Dean seems a really engaging guy right for a show. See? Really engaging guy right for a show. Dean has all positive. Dean has the ability to keep your attention when he tells his story, unlike the Yimmies on YouTube. Let me see. Hello, my beautiful daughter. Let's see. Dean is the guy who should be talking to kids, not the rats. I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Good, right?
Let me see. What else? Anybody else? Let's see. Let me see. Primo. All right, everybody. King Shade says this is an amazing interview. Thank you, King Shades.
Yeah,
I think so.
All of your viewers for that's. I know I keep saying it over and over. I don't want to repeat myself, but like I said, I'm not used to this type of support at this level. It's really something. It got me thinking a lot bigger than I was thinking previous to doing this show. So
yeah, just keep putting it out. Keep putting it out, and before you know it, it takes a while to get subscribers, but you've got only 3 and change, right? 300 and something subs.
That pretty much happened overnight.
Exactly.
So that's something.
Yeah. Facts Over Feelings says I couldn't imagine transitioning back into society after doing that much time. And that's true.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey, that's for sure.
Del Strain says, Dean's still here, man. I'm Pat. Keep going, brother. Better days ahead. Your spirit is strong. Let me see. Just there are people talking to each other in here too. How I just chilling. Let me see if there's any other questions. I think you pretty much said everything. Primo says Dean seems like a good man. Yes, he does. They usually go back to prison if they don't have a woman or a good support system. So you have both. You have a good woman and a good support system.
Which I didn't have previously. So, again, for anyone that's, if your viewers know someone's serving time, they need to work on putting that together while they're there, because it's too hard to do it once you come out. I was in there by myself for many years. I had one person visiting me when they could, and I'll tell you, it's a tough, lonely thing, and you can't just magically get people to appear. But you can communicate with people in the world and develop friendship. They don't have to visit you. And so when you get out, I'm not saying you do it to have them necessarily support you physically, but just to engage them in conversation, like I said earlier, so it allows you the ability to hold the conversation upon your release. If you don't have the soft skills to speak for yourself, how do you even acquire a support system? You follow me? So there's a lot involved with it, or some people are fortunate enough to just have that in their life. I had to build my support system, so there's something to be said about that.
So you didn't have visitors and stuff?
Well, there's been off and on. When I went in at 16, I had one person visited me, my sister. My sister's been my one constant. Okay. No, I went years without visits, and then another sibling got involved, and a couple of fly-by-night women, not really girlfriends, off and on, but for the most part, I probably served more of my time alone than with people. It was near the end, but a lot, in all fairness, the people who did come up to visit me ultimately was when I started to make a change, is when it started to appeal to people. But and a couple of family members, I spent a lot of time in prison, alone without that support system. I mean, I had guys like Rudy, other criminals supporting me, or guys like Rudy financially supporting me, like in that sense. So I was fortunate in that way. But, because I had friends, criminal friends, but that's a different type of support. The other kind of support you need that's required from good people out in the street. No, I didn't have that for years. I only had a couple of family members, which went a long way, not to take anything from them. But I went years absolutely without any of that. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they had, in all fairness to my siblings, we were scattered about, all trying to make it out in the world. They come from the same rough background as me. And my sister had to overcome a lot. My brother had to overcome a lot and they ultimately did something for themselves. But they came out that same hellhole as me. And they stayed the course, went on the right track, and stayed on it. I didn't follow their lead on that. But I tell you that they took them years to get to where they needed to be. So, and ultimately I had a couple of siblings that backed me, and that's about it. A lot of it I had to acquire some friendships along the way, and I had a couple of friends financially that would take care of me. But that ain't the only answer to that. You need to be able to, if you can, you need to be able to call family members for a living that help you understand what empathy is and stuff. Well, I tell you, a lot of people do understand that already. I was so young when I went in. I had to learn simplistic things like something you should know, like empathy. I mean, you could feel empathy, but not know what it is, for that matter. I had to learn a lot. I had to learn life skills. And if you go in, and there's a lot of young men that go in there that don't understand it. And if they don't start learning that type of stuff while they're there, upon their release, they'll be the same guy they was when they went in. Keep preaching that over and over, but every time I think about what it took to get to where I'm at, I remember the difficulties of it. And I tell you, only because if you got any viewers that have friends and family that's incarcerated, maybe they take that from this episode and they remind that person that's in prison. This is what I heard this guy say. So, that's why I repeated it a couple of times.
Wow. Ken said, I think Dean gained about 30 subs today. That's great. Let's keep it going for him. He's a ray of light.
Yeah.
Marco Ritz says Dean is the true meaning of it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Ah, there you go.
Gianni said Dean could really help young guys that are fresh out and or close to heading in. Exactly.
Yeah, I've been wrapping my mind around something along those lines. So we'll see how that turns out.
Mm-hmm.
Your viewers gave me a whole new, direction to look at. With all this inspirational, I didn't, 'cause if you're a guy that's being inspirational to others, you may not know it. I've been told that a couple of times I can be inspirational, but I never really, I haven't heard it so that, I really believed in it. But I've been convinced that I can help people, and I intend to follow up on that.
So Krumel says, please buy Dean's book, Dark Impressions, on Amazon. Here, I got mine. There's mine. Let's see. This is so great. I love how everybody is
Angel, if I can, I quickly want to elaborate on the second book, which is part 2, the sequel.
Oh yeah, tell us about that.
I actually put it up, but then I took it down because the cover came out wrong. That is called Lethal Ties. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is within that book, it's like that book does coincide with the same time frame, my age, some of the stuff I endured. And in that book, the protagonist becomes disillusioned with the life, and he turns his life around in similar fashion to how I'm doing it now. And the odd thing is, I wrote, when you read Dark Impressions, and then you look at my life, you'll see so many similarities. It almost looks like I predicted my future when I wrote Dark Impressions. It's the strangest thing. It's almost like I wrote my future. I guess I craved it so bad I was implementing it in the novel without even realizing it. So, but you gotta get through part 2 to see the whole layout.
Right, okay. And now, when is that one going to be ready?
I mean, it's kind of ready now. I got to touch it up. I hate to give an answer and be wrong, but I need a few more months to get that thing ready.
Oh, okay.
Lethal Ties.
Well, it doesn't fit the Amazon.
Yeah, it doesn't. The format. There's a few.
Because it was done when he was in prison by somebody else.
Right.
And they typed it up not in the right format, so it needs to be formatted to.
Did you catch that, Angel?
Did I what?
Did you hear what Carol just said?
I didn't hear that it doesn't fit Amazon's standards.
No, the book was typed up while I was in prison, like the other book. I paid someone to type it up for me.
Oh, right.
It doesn't fit the format that when you submit it to Amazon. Those are the amateur things I was doing that I wasn't aware of. So I now have to do it over, and you have to format it a certain way before you can submit it. So there's a lot of technical things that need to be touched up before I can submit part 2.
Okay. So Irish Guy says, I bought this guy's book too, but haven't started reading it yet. It sounds like it will be good from the back cover anyway. Oh yeah, so from the back cover, it sounds like it's going to be a good book.
Good. Those are all my words. I'm glad to know that the words I chose actually got people's attention. As you wonder, you just
exactly. Hi, Danny Trio. How are you?
Danny Trio.
I don't know. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Anybody else? Hello, American Made. Let's see. American Made. I'm trying to see if there's any more questions for you. Okay. American Made. I heard you were in somebody's chat last night. What's going on? Then again, I don't know how true it is, but Okay. The chat is jumping on me.
Really?
Gianni says Dean has already covered all the questions I would have asked. Excellent show. Dean is very interesting and inspirational. I think he could really help a lot of guys out there. So do I. That's why I was pushing this, because I really think that you can. You know, help kids.
That's good to see so many people believe that, see that side of me. It's inspiring me to really take another strong look at it. I mean, I tended to go back and talk to the kids in school, and there's other venues I can speak to inner city kids that are in trouble. Not that they have to be from the inner city, but I have a direct line to these places because I was already involved in these programs. So it's not would it be a lot? It's pretty easy for me to get back involved in that. I think I may just do that too.
Yeah, I hope so. I really do. Dean, just keep doing what you're doing, buddy. Love your style. That's what Assassinito says.
He's been one hell of a supporter. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I read all his comments.
Assassino?
Oh, sharing my videos.
Isn't he great? He's great.
He sure is. Thank you, Assassinito. Thank you very much.
Oh, so he never said that because somebody named Paulina, something said Pauline, I don't know. Dean got up to 335 subs. We need him to hit up there. Yes, everybody, please give him a sub. Kevin says, I have met Dean many years ago and I couldn't be happier for him and his family. Hope Chris is well also. I think he's talking about your brother.
Yes.
Okay. Danny Trio says, tell Bobby Luisi to go scratch. That's my line, Danny Trio. I tell everybody, go scratch. Let me see. Anybody else? Does anybody else have a question? Carol says, Dean, just keep doing what you are doing. Everything will be okay and you will go far. Scott Bell says, Dean, I don't know you, but I already respect you, bro. Everything I've heard tonight is very admirable. Doesn't that feel nice to hear all these things?
Absolutely. I just can't let my head swell too much. I got to keep that in.
Yeah, exactly. Nah, you're too humble to let your head swell. Edwin. Hi, Edwin. Edwin says, God bless always, Miss Angel and family. Our utmost respect, always best wishes and special blessings to Mr. Dean Wilkinson, wife and baby. Strength and honor.
Thank you.
And I think Dean would be a perfect fit, and we push back. That's Assassino. And Richie says, Dean, I'm from Boston, Mass. Good luck to you. Chris Trock says, Dean, what was the first thing you ate when you got home?
I get that question asked a lot of the.
I can't believe I didn't ask it.
I was trying to think of it. I didn't make that one of my big of my sister had an event at her house. Yeah, like a party awaiting me, so I didn't even give that a thought.
She might remember, but
I can't even recall what it was. They had I didn't leave there with that on my mind. I had so many other things on my mind, but
I will say he has eaten a lot of steak the last year.
The way I eat now. Well, my wife is not only a sommelier, which is a professional wine taster. She's a professional chef who graduated, in fact, that CIA school in New York. You familiar with it, Angel?
Oh, wow. Did your wife go there?
She graduated from there, and she's a sommelier, so you can imagine how well I eat.
Wow.
In several restaurants in different states. She's very talented. So,
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, a lot of famous people attended that school.
Yeah, very good. Danny Trio says, keep doing what you're doing, Dean, because at the end you'll be shining. The best pal. This is so nice. Ange got her book yesterday.
Wow.
Let's see. Ange says, Dean, I think most here are so supportive because we truly understand.
Yeah, your viewers, they seem to have a very in-depth understanding. I'm a guy who all I ran into since I've been out here is mostly people who don't understand. Not that I expect them to or need them to, but it's pretty prevalent around here where it seems all your viewers, just by their comments alone, not because they're saying it, I support, they just seem to have the comments I got on my phone. You can tell there's a level of understanding that is unbelievable. Really.
Yeah. Facts Over Feelings says, this is why I like MRE. He helps people. Everyone he has brought to this community are good people. We boost everyone up over here. Lots of loyalty.
Oh yeah, I have a lot to thank him for. That's
Yeah. Dean definitely has a gift. Ange says it's your calling, Dean. What is your nationality?
Hey, I'm a mixed butt. I got various. Now I haven't even done my tree, but my family has been finding everything in them from English to Scottish, a small dose of black, every other goddamn thing. I have to do my ancestry tree to find out, because all of my siblings, we all have different fathers. Hate to put that out there, my family, but this I'm a mother of various nationalities, and maybe that's what gives me a certain quality. I don't know, but
Right.
I'm gonna do that soon just to find out.
You look Italian.
Yeah.
And you got the hands going as you're talking. That's Italian.
There's a large dose of Italian blood in my family, so there is some of that in there.
Yeah. Tommaso says, think about the pain and suffering that could be avoided if they would pay Dean a great wage to speak out to young people before they end up in trouble. It would be a win-win situation. I agree.
Huh.
I agree. It would be if before these kids get in trouble, they can have somebody like you speak to them.
And they did, when I was doing that program at the prison, they did allow me to sit down occasionally one-on-one with kids. And I'll tell you, it's a hell of a thing to be able to, I don't know how well it turned out with these kids, but at the time when I was doing it, it's a hell of an opportunity to, I don't want to keep using the word give back, but not only do you give back in a way, but you actually heal through helping these kids. It's therapeutic to help people. So
yeah, exactly.
That's one hell of a payoff, to heal yourself while you're healing others. That's something.
And will you continue with it?
Yeah, I intend to. I just have so many. I've been just very busy, and I have to on parole. You're required to do certain things. I have to attend certain programs. I have to stay employed. That alone, on top of it, as I told you, writing the book, and my child, there's just a lot. I have a lot going on, but I am going to find a window or a time in my where I can slide that in and pull that off. If I can, unless I could do it for a living, but then I won't have to be employed somewhere else. And I'm about to take a few more courses that revolve around that type of work soon. I already got the grant for it, I think, actually. I applied for a grant to go back to school for that. So we'll see.
Wow.
Not for that in particular, but the courses I'm going to take will allow me to pursue that. You need a certain level of education before you start handing out advice. So,
yeah, right, exactly.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's a lot to take on, but once I start, believe me, I will see it through the end.
Let me see. Oh, what did I do? Um, Marco says, Dean, you can say anything here. We don't pass judgment here. Next interview should be with Carol and get her perspective.
Well,
She seems just as interesting and nice.
I wanted to invite Carol in, but she just didn't want to trample in on the video. But I called her over a couple of times, so welcome to. If they want to ask her a question now, they
Yeah, you can ask Carol questions now.
come sit over and keep me company while she has to check on the baby real quick. And
Okay, Cleveland Corleone says, it's so refreshing to see a guy who appreciates freedom and the common good like Dean does. Guy does 36 years and comes out with the sole purpose of helping others. That's nice, and that's true. Dean, I get it. Mrs. Smith doesn't like being on camera either. Oh, let me see.
oh, he's saying his.
Let's see.
Well, this doesn't happen. So, I hope they do have questions for Carol. Carol can help people as well. She has a lot of input. She's helped a lot of people in her life.
Dean, it's not easy to walk back into freedom after so many years on the inside. What is the hardest part of that? I can't say it. Acclamation.
The hardest part is the acclamation. What do you think has been the most frustrating? What have I complained about the most? Let's see.
A lot of things.
I think one of the hardest things to deal with is probably just the restrictions on parole. I don't know if that is it. That's frustrating, but
I think the hardest part.
I have the answer. It's being misunderstood. People have a preconceived notion of who I am. I've been in a lot of situations where you could tell people will shut down or don't. I don't want to say don't want nothing to do it, but they just have a preconceived notion of who I am.
Or prejudice.
Prejudice, or a lot of people think they anticipate me just trying to talk like some tough guy, and they're throwing a curveball when I'm just a regular guy. I think that's one of the hardest things I dealt with is and not that it's even been that prevalent, but I think it hits me the hardest. Because
Right.
who knows what opportunities I missed because of it. I got shot down on a few things because of it, and what are you gonna do? I just get right back up. It's not a problem. I'm misunderstood a lot, but yeah, I don't know if I have an exact answer for the hardest thing. I think I'd have to put more thought into it because I've been frustrated by a handful of things, but I put that shit on a shelf and I just keep moving, Angel. You know, if I can't get over it, I go around it.
And what about how's it to be a father at this age?
Oh, jeez. You're talking to a guy who never had a father, too. So
Exactly.
the funny thing is, a lot of people are telling me I appear to be a natural because I just gravitated right to it. I have put thought into it when I was in prison, but I thought the idea of being a father was lost to me forever because I was getting too old. What was the chances of me getting out at 54 when I got out, meeting a woman young enough to have a kid and be tolerant of who I am and with my past? Against all odds, I pulled it off. But to answer the question,
And be a good mother.
yeah, and be a good mother, and have the woman be a good mother as well. It's been great, and I just I don't get that frustrated with it. I get more frustrated with an automated machine telling me something than I do the crying baby. I don't even know why. I don't want to use the word tolerant of it because that's the wrong word. I seem to have a high tolerance for and I'm a guy who's very impatient. I seem to have a lot of patience. I don't know where I get it from. Maybe I just like being a dad. I think more than anything, I finally feel like I'm doing something worthy. you know, like I said earlier, I've been taken from society my whole life. I never felt like I was doing something worthy or meaningful. And there's so much meaning in being a dad, man. That
We also play off each other. Like,
yeah,
he'll see that I've had her for a few hours and it's just becoming a lot, and he'll grab her. We just pass her back and forth. We work really well as a team. And
See, that's great. That's great. But
Yeah.
Angela has a question for Carol. Carol, how do you deal with trying to help Dean through normal daily life?
Mm,
sometimes he has to do that. I know, sir.
no, I don't know. I'm a logistics manager, and I worked in kitchens. And
yeah, there you go.
I don't know if it's because of my background. I always had really stressful jobs, so I'm kind of good at juggling. Dean's just he's a really mature man, and although he has, he could be quick tempered, this and that. I don't really see that side of him, which is awesome. So I really only see the composed side of Dean. It's just a lot. I have to really be on point with a lot of his stuff because he is on parole. So she always wants like certain paperwork. She has to know everything. Doctors. I mean, if you get a ticket, if you have a like an argument with somebody, anything. So it's just constantly sending her the right paperwork and making sure that we're on point with that. And he has carpal tunnel, so we're always going to the doctors. So I basically just kind of handle that stuff behind the scenes and make sure that stuff doesn't stress him out because that's overwhelming. I mean, it's a lot just for somebody that's been out and hasn't done time to handle all that. So I just try to handle the stuff that I know that's going to stress him out.
At a great cost sometimes.
Right.
Stressed out dealing with my shit. So she's leaving. She's being humble about it. She had to deal with, over time, I've gotten a little better. I realized I have to ease some of this from her. So, by her taking all of that, listen, you're going to see what she had to go through just to find an apartment for me. She actually uprooted herself from Massachusetts and moved down here.
Oh, wow.
Other people wouldn't allow, never mind a pit bull they thought she had. It was whatever kind of dog it is. Never mind the dog they had an issue with. The ex-con they didn't want to let in.
Yeah, because I'm from Massachusetts and he's on Rhode Island parole, so he couldn't move to Massachusetts. So I had to, change everything. The state, my car insurance, where I live. I had to rent from somebody that would accept somebody that was actively on parole, and parole calls the landlord and asks them, are you okay with this man's criminal history? So I couldn't live in any complex, or I couldn't go to any realtor because they do the background check. So I had to, we found these really nice people. And
how many rejections did you get until we arrived here?
A lot. Everyone told me you're never gonna find a place with a dog, a cat, and a convict.
Yeah, she did it, and that's Carol for you. The one
wow.
that pull it off. She's always pulling off things that most people think find impossible. She finds a way somehow. So.
And so the people that you rented from are really nice people, and they see that he's a good man, and there's nothing to to worry about, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It was hard because I got a lot of no's, and then I kind of had my little spiel down that I would do because I wouldn't tell them right away that who my boyfriend was at the time. Now he's my husband. But ended up meeting the landlord in person, and it's a married couple. And she said, I'm fine with it. I just have to check with my husband. And I couldn't believe when she said that. It's a beautiful apartment, and they were refurbing the whole thing. So it's new carpet, new paint, and it's been really good. They're super respectful, and it works out really well. They actually live downstairs on the first floor. So.
And they might be watching.
That's good. And they what? What were you gonna say?
They could potentially be watching this right now.
Also, Angela wants to know, also, Carol, how do you deal with negativity towards your husband?
Oof. It's been hard. It was very hard at first because my parents are my best friends, and they weren't accepting of who I was dating at first. I pretty much had to cut friendships off. All my girlfriends wouldn't, because I was dating him. He was in prison, and no one agreed with it. And so I really don't have any girlfriends left because no one agreed with my relationship with him. So that's been kind of hard too, because even though he doesn't go out and hang out a lot, he has long lasting friendships. I mean, he has people that he's known for 30 years that still check in on him. And I, on the other hand, had to let go of all my relationships because no one agreed with the route I was taking with him. So
She sacrificed a lot, Angel.
Wow, I can't believe that so friendships would end over that?
I have my own family members, very close, immediate family that don't want to meet him, don't want anything to do with him. Have
Oh my God.
pretty much kind of cut it off with me. And I have a new baby, and that's supposed to be a good time in my life and a happy time in my life. So I just had to really sit back, and it was hard, but that's their comfort zone. And
So your family didn't meet your baby?
no, my parents are 100%. They came around. They totally.
Oh, okay.
They're amazing grandparents, but I have some other family members that just aren't accepting of our relationship.
And they haven't met the baby.
Oh, that's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Really tough. I have a best friend for 47 years. Yeah, we'll kill each other over something, but either way, we would never do anything like that. Never.
But yeah, my parents are amazing, and Dean's family has been very accepting, obviously. So, they're great people too.
Yeah, that's great. Marco wants to know, Carol, do you see Dean transitioning into an overprotective dad?
Oh, I think a guy like him it would be so obvious that he's overprotective, but he plays it pretty cool. Yeah, I think he would go into action as overprotective if it.
Yeah, I think so. Probation and parole is very difficult. 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Wow.
Correct. That is correct.
Yeah.
They bring a lot of stress into your life, but maybe they have their reasoning for it.
Yeah. Having served time. Oh, Pain Like Bane says, having served time, I like Dean's attitude.
Sure.
And please hit that like button. Cleveland Corleone says, I own a restaurant and a wine bar. People in our business are made of iron. A sommelier is an incredible honor and very difficult to achieve. Well done, Carol.
Thank you.
I watched the documentary on that, and I couldn't believe what the sommelier goes through.
Yeah, I'm certified through the quartermaster.
I'm sorry, what did you say? I didn't hear, Carol, what you said.
Oh, I was just that comment. He obviously knows about a sommelier.
Right, sommelier.
Yeah, I'm certified through the quartermaster of sommelier, so an international certification.
Wow, I never even heard of that before.
Neither did I until I see it.
Yeah, right? I never even heard of that. I mean, my uncle did that too in California, but I always just called him a wine connoisseur.
Hey, they travel the world, and there's a lot involved with it.
Yes, my uncle did as well. You do the time, but on license, you may as well still be inside. Yeah, there's a lot of prejudice about that. People who are who like ex-cons and stuff like that. And a lot of people don't want to give them a second, like a second chance.
Yeah, I've run into that.
Or I found they give him a chance, but they hold it. They have this thing over his head, like we're only gonna pay you this much because you're an ex-con, or like it's always throwing it back in his face. But at the same time, he's fortunate for, getting the chances he does. But there's a lot of employment for ex-cons. I mean, there's a lot of companies that back ex-cons. So
they do. Oh, okay.
Like Amazon's one of them. I don't know if it's Home Depot or one of them.
It wasn't always like that. That's taking a turn for the better, Angel. There's
Yeah.
a
Well,
lot.
that's good. Yeah, I think I heard that about Home Depot. They will hire you.
I could be wrong. It's either Home Depot or they have the list.
Well,
Yeah, I thought it was Home Depot.
Well, a lot of it's because there's a lot of lazy fucking youngsters out there now that don't want to work and so there's a lot of work, a lot of employment available. So now they're tapping into the ex-cons. Although some companies are doing it for good reasons, but there's so much work available. They now need ex-cons too as well. So if you're an ex-con, now's a good time to apply for a job.
Yeah, exactly. Carol, how was your first job after graduating from the Culinary Institute, and what is your ultimate professional goal?
Ooh, does it say how was my first job or what was it?
I'm sorry, how was your first job?
It was fun. I think I actually didn't go to the kitchen right away. I actually was serving. I'd never served before. So we say serving, but it's waiting tables. And that's kind of how I got into more of the front of the house. So I took it upon myself to learn the whole front of the house because I had just kind of gotten out of the back of the house with culinary school. And I was making a lot of money serving and bartending. So that kind of was my 10-year gig on that. And then what was part 2 of that question?
Oh.
What's your ultimate goal?
Oh, my ultimate
Professional goal, yeah.
well, I've kind of transitioned into food sales and logistics. I work for a food distributor. I think eventually Dean and I would like to do something ourselves. It depends. I don't know if it's going to be food oriented or not. It could be. I mean, we've thought about even possibly making our own cheese. You just never know.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Very good.
That's kind of up in the air, but you know, Dean with his writing, he has so much potential. So kind of whatever takes off, probably just go with the flow.
What is your favorite meal, Dean, that Carol makes?
Yeah, I hate to say it. I'm really just a simple steak and potato type of guy. I just she's made a lot of meals I can't even pronounce the names though. Her and her family that which one have I taken?
Well, when you first get out of prison, you have to be really careful about all the different spices and creams and tomato sauces. So at first we had to go real light because he was getting sick all the time.
Right.
Because
Oh.
they say be really careful the first month. So I haven't really gone totally strong with the herbs and the spices, and because I like to cook spicy sometimes. He's definitely gotten more used to it.
I eat like a king in this place, let me tell you.
I could imagine. Oh my God, I wish I lived upstairs. Angela wants to know, what is your age difference if too personal, don't answer?
17 years.
Oh, wow. Really? 17 years.
Oh, yeah.
Marco says, Dean, I don't want to sound like a preacher, but that woman sitting next to you is 1 in a million. So before books, YouTube, and all that stuff, just be the best husband and father you can be.
And he is.
Oh, see? And he is.
He really is the best dad, I'll tell you.
See, that's great. Oh, I love this. I love this whole story. Cleveland Corleone says he proudly employs ex-cons. They're great workers with great attitudes like Dean, much more grateful than the current labor pool.
Yeah. Well, I can see how that could happen.
Yeah. Mandy says society isn't accepting of good people. Instead, they'll judge you without even knowing your name. But if you were woke, they'd love you.
Hi, Mandy. Thanks for your comments, by the way.
Yes. Lori Love says, when did she graduate from CIA? Oh, no, she's talking to Mr. Smith. Trust me, it's difficult to get a job as a felon, but if you persevere, I'm sorry, and don't give up, someone will eventually give you a chance.
That's true.
What was your longest stint in the hole?
2 years.
2 years in the hole?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's really good at push-ups.
Really? I know. My father was too. My father was in the hole for 12 years.
Oof.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 12 years. And Angela said, you two are a power couple.
Yeah.
Oh, I get. I messed up. I thought that they were Angel, CIA's Culinary Institute of America. I thought that was a question for Mr. Smith because we always tease Mr. Smith was in the CIA. So I'm sorry, whoever asked that question, and I didn't.
I went in 03 and I graduated in 05 with my associates in culinary arts. And then I went to the sister school in Napa Valley to study wine at the wine program to become a sommelier in 2013 to 14.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, they're Greystone campus. And
Yeah, that's great. Mandy says, how can anyone keep their sanity? I'd be going nuts after an hour in the hole, I guess she's talking about.
Yeah, but it's amazing what your mind will adjust to when it has to, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Marco says, Angel is actually up to date in the chat. Angel is getting better. Yes. And Angela said, come on, guys, let's get Dean to 500 subs. I thought Carol was a CIA agent, chef.
no, he would have married CIA.
Oh, that might be interesting.
Chefs are incredible artists. Yes, they are. I went to Hyde Park, graduated 91, great school. You'll go far.
Wow.
And I am all caught up in the comments.
Wow.
I'm all caught up. And so we'll figure out your next interview, Dean.
Gather some questions for me, Angel. I'll be ready to answer them.
Yeah, and I'm sure MRE wants to do something with you too. We need to get you to at least 1,000 subs. Kane Shade says, this is truly amazing, Angel. This is one of your best shows. Can't wait to read Dean's book. Thank you so much, Kane Shades. I think we're on almost, we're over 2.5 hours, and it went by so fast. It was so interesting.
Oh.
Hey, really quick, if you don't mind. Not right now, but for the next show, every time that you dropped the link and I went to log in, it didn't accept my password. So maybe we can figure that out, or MRE can help me with that. Because
what do you mean password? You don't have to put in a password.
I thought.
Oh, you know what? You did it on the phone or on the computer?
The phone.
So you did it on the phone.
And
I think you go down to the bottom. What's the one on the bottom? Not Google. Not
Chrome.
You go to the one on the bottom. See, last time
you have to wait. I got to change the password. I don't know why it does it.
I don't know anything about a password. I never had to put in a password.
I know. I think it's weird because we're already logged into YouTube, so I don't know why it would ask for a password. But
wow.
But that's why you got to wait both times. Sorry about that.
Oh, that was okay. No worries at all. Enjoyed the show and guests. Thank you. And everybody is saying, keep up the great work, Dean. You should be very proud. Yeah, we got to share this on Twitter, Ange. Yeah, Ange is going to say, she's going to tell her Twitter peeps to sub or else. Oh, yeah, Safari. Yeah, see, Angela said it never asked her for a password. I never had to put in a password.
Yeah, and the password I'm putting in is the password, and it says it's not, so then I have to go and make a new one. That's what's taking so long.
Oh, and Dean Marco says, Angel, when I came in your show, I had to put a password in. I went through Safari. So then it's not Safari that you go in. Yeah, we'll figure it out. See, the last time I had MRE on here with me, so he was able to tell you while we were on. But yeah, that's Mandy, usually yes. I don't know. Can't wait to read it either, but I have to wait a few days more. Amazon is slow sending it to the Netherlands.
Ooh,
Whoa.
Netherlands.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Krumel, our moderator, is from the Netherlands.
Wow. Damn.
You have to use the password of the email that is related to your YouTube. Oh, so you need to use the password that goes with your Google?
Yes. Yeah, I thought I was doing that. I'll have to double check.
Maureen says, I really appreciated tonight's show. That makes me feel so good.
Yeah.
I was so excited to see the title of the show tonight. Dean and Carol have an amazing story. Can't wait for my book to get here. And Assassino says, awesome show. Thanks, Angel and Dean. You forgot Carol. And Marco says exactly. Oh yeah, so you need to put in the Google password. I don't know why. I don't have to do that.
Yeah, it's weird because I mean he's logged into everything. So, but no biggie. I just don't want you guys waiting. You know, I don't want to have to change the password every time when you guys are waiting for us because we logged on early, so that wouldn't happen. But
oh yeah, all right. Don't worry about it. We can wait. We're not going anywhere. We waited. What did we wait? 10 minutes. MRE says, great show. I'm working, but I watched it. Thank you, Mob Rats Exposed.
Thank you, MRE.
Yes, thank you. And Gianni says, awesome show is right. So I'm all caught up. I'm going to let you guys go because we kept you here over 2.5 hours, almost 2 hours and 45 minutes. So let's do this again. And MRE, I'm sure, is going to do something with you. I'm sure everybody is going to want to have you back on again.
Very good.
It's an inspiration to see the 2-3 of you together. Aw, it is. It really is. And I love your channel. I love watching your videos.
Well, I appreciate everything, Angel. I'll talk to you again soon.
Yes, thank you so much. Please come back, Dean. Please come back, Carol.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Maybe, Carol, next time you could come the whole interview.
All right. Thank you.
And thanks to all your viewers.
Thank you. Thank you. And we're going to drop your link again. And I'm going to put your link in the description along with where we could get your book.
All right.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
I kicked them. I only kick the ones I love. Please hit the like button and kiss that beautiful baby. Exactly. And good night, Mandy. Everybody, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for being so involved in the chat and everything. Gianni says you've got it all here, Angel. From real fun and games to heartfelt interviews by real people. Yeah, I love that. Great show. Thank you, Krumel. You're so nice, all of you. That was great, Angel. Thank you, Assassino. And Mandy, how lucky how lucky were we to get them in our lives now? Yes. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Krumel. Thank you, Marco. Angel, your best show to date by far. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, Scott, where were you? I hope you listened to it. Dean was on. I was doing some stuff around the house and I came on for a quick second and I seen Dean. Wow, he is a celebrity now. I'm just happy for him. Yeah, I'm happy for him too. I want him to get so big. I want him to be maybe we could get him on those other shows that they said in the beginning, like even Convict Inc. and what's the other ones? Blood on the Razor, something like that. And that 20, was it 23 and 1? I don't know. But I really want him to succeed and get big because I love his story. I love the whole thing. And now I'm gonna read the book, and the next time he comes on, I can ask him some questions from the book. Thank you, David. Thank you. Hi, Tales from the Snitch. Thank you, Dean, Carolyn, Chat. Thank you. Mr. Smith, how did you like that show, Mr. Smith? Now, you're a former police officer for 30 years. What did you think of Dean? What did you think of it? Dean has got to hit the circuit now. Everyone's show, yes. Big things for Dean. I feel it. I am keeping my fingers crossed. Jane Perry says that was fun. Marco Ritz says, I want him to be huge so that child benefits. Yes. And Carol, too. Yes, Blood on the Razor. Oh, and 23 and 1. Okay, 23 and 1. I'm just curious what Mr. Smith has to say. Dean is a bright light for educating our youth. He's doing well for himself. See? That's very nice, Mr. Smith. Thank you. Great show. Good night, Angel. Good night to you too, Richie, and thank you so much. And everybody, thank you again so much. And happy Labor Day. And I hope you all had a great weekend. And good night. And well, let me get this comment off. And then I am going to kick myself out